You're going to solve the question that Alex Barth was not able to solve for me. And basically none of the people that I've listened to, read, talked to over the last few days have been able to answer the why. Why did it have to happen? Why did it have to happen now? What was the impetus behind it? But have you noticed, has this been out and about the talking point? Have you had a lot of the, I may or may not have had a Jaylen Brown jersey on, so that may have been a push toward the conversation. But have you noticed there's a lot of people talking about this trade, and I know we'll get into where does it rank among the worst trades in Celtics history, Boston sports history, maybe all of sports history. Who the hell knows? But have you been getting a lot of questions about Jaylen Brown and why he's no longer a Celtic?
When the news broke, Andy, my phone blew up, not only from messages from people at the station, people we work with. It was people working with my other job. It was my friends, my buddies, all texting me, what are the Celtics doing?
Yeah.
This trade makes no sense. And that was the initial reaction from the get-go, and I feel like in the days after it, we're still asking the question of, wait, the Celtics traded Jaylen Brown, a player still in the middle of his prime, entering the middle of his prime. They traded him away for a guy on the wrong side of 30, 6 years older, and whose contract is a little bit cheaper. And that, to me, I kept asking myself, why did they do this trade? I tried to put myself in Brad Stevens' shoes. If I was Brad Stevens and this deal was presented to me, or as the Boston Celtics, and this deal was presented to you, why do you make this deal? The only thing I come back to is money. Because Paul George is on a max contract, and so is Jaylen Brown. The difference is Jaylen Brown is going to get extended again for another large deal. Paul George likely isn't. And on top of that, Paul George's current deal is a year up sooner than Jaylen Brown. So it just expedites or accelerates the timeline for that. And of course, you don't have to worry about extending Paul George. And that's, to me, where I go back to is you can't tell me the Celtics are a better basketball team after trading away Jaylen Brown and getting Paul George. I don't think anyone is saying that. So if you make a trade because you want to get better, you want to get better for the future, or you want to move a contract. And to me, this trade falls in that third category. They wanted to move a contract and maybe get some draft capital for the future, but it's unfortunate that we have to sit here and talk about the 2030 draft picks that they got, or they really only got two, one in 2028, one in 2031.
Oh, you don't care about the two twos?
No, I don't.
Twos are big in the NBA these days. Lots of twos flying around.
Though it makes sense because of how those CBAs, and I understand why the second round picks are going to be valued more, at least at the start of this new CBA because of the contracts. But go through the second round. How many players are drafted there and become impact players? You can think of Jalen Brunson, Nikola Jokic, and Draymond Green. Anybody else you can think of?
Nope.
So I don't know what those second round picks are going to get the Boston Celtics when they're trying to compete with the Jason Tatum, who is in the middle of his prime.
They're assets, and I'm sick of assets. I thought we were out of the world of assets. I thought we were into the world of, we have two superstars. We have two guys that are the foundational core of a basketball team that every single year I'm like, are you going to be a 2 seed? You're going to be a 1 seed? Where are you going to be in the playoff picture? You're going to win 50 games, 55 games? And I think you chose, if you're Brad Stevens, and I do want you, the listener, to join the conversation, 617-779-0985. Nailed it! Garvin, first time. Nailed it. How you like them apples?
Happy for you.
Read it off the notebook that I wrote it down in front of me to make sure I did not give out the wrong number. Why would you do that, Andy? Well, you should know why I would do something like that. Not as bad as Bill Bird, who I believe once gave out his home phone number on the radio.
That's incredible.
Luckily, none of mine start with 617, so that should prevent me from ever having that issue. But they chose to, Jake, enter the world you're talking about. Enter the world of assets and future, and as Alex Barth put it the other day, 5-year plan. Whoa, 5-year plan? I don't give a rat's katukis about your 5-year plan. I want to turn the Celtics on opening night and during the season and care and watch and wonder how good they are going to be. And that's where I'll start. You mentioned it. Nobody believes they're a better basketball team after this move, right? But I think there are people that still think they're a pretty damn good basketball team, and I do not happen to be one of those people. I think they are a play-in team. I think they are going to be in the play-in category, and this is going to get into... I'm not sure how familiar you are on my takes, Jake. Not a huge Jason Tatum fan. Think he's kind of soft as puppy poo. And if I wanted to give Exhibit A, it may or may not be the final game the Celtics played last year. You may recall that was a Game 7. Those are usually, as they in the football business call it, nut-cutting time. And he didn't play. And then he went to the microphone and said, but I could have played if we made it to the next round. Oh, great. So you were kind of available with the season on the line, but weren't out there. Do you have faith in Jason Tatum as the now unquestioned centerpiece of the Boston Celtics, who no longer has a running mate or a Robin? Because Paul George is Paul George. It's not 2019. It's 2026.
Yeah, we're way past the point of Paul George being a legitimate option
Correct.
on a championship team, or as a top 3 option, I should say. Yeah, I have faith in it because Jason Tatum is an all-world basketball player, and you can if you want to call him soft, okay, fine, I get it, and I hear the point. He didn't play in Game 7, coming off the Achilles injury. I understand where you're coming from with that, but the regular season is a lot different than the playoffs. So if a player is quote unquote soft, right, the regular season they should be able to do what they do and get through it. So, and not to mention, it's the Eastern Conference. I know people are telling me, "Oh, the conference is going to be better this year."
Philly looks good.
They're right. The conference does look good this year. It looks a lot better than what it was. But at the same time, you mean to tell me that the Celtics with Jason Tatum, an All-NBA player when he's fully healthy, isn't going to be a top 5 seed in the conference?
I have them at best 6th right now. I'll be honest with you, because I would list, and I know people are going to throw at me, name 2 people on the Heat other than the obvious answers, and I can't, but I think they're going to be pretty damn good with Giannis. But I think you go Cleveland, Detroit, New York, Philly, Miami, all better than you.
So I think it depends. The Cleveland thing's interesting to me because I don't know where they go from here. Like, to me, it's just the regular season team where they're going to be good on some nights and kind of dwindle down the playoffs. And maybe that's what the Celtics are. They're kind of in that category too, where
try-hard Celtics, yeah.
45, 50 games, they'll be a good regular season team, and they'll die off in the playoffs, which is not where the Celtics should be. But I just think when you have Jason Tatum on this team and he can contribute the way he contributes, because he was a better all-around basketball player than Jaylen Brown.
Absolutely. Even as a, quote-unquote Tatum hater, I can't argue that point. All-around skills, he is a better player. Is he a better winner? Is he a better leader? Is he a better centerpiece? We're about to find out.
Yeah, we're about to find out for real. I think that Tatum, I should say. Tatum's going to be fine leading this team because of what we've seen him do. Now, this is the first time in his career he's going to be playing without Jaylen Brown, and that's a big question about, okay, now it's, like you said, it's officially your show, and how can you manage the team, manage the entire season? When you take nights off, you don't have someone else who's helping out. Same thing for Brown last year, right? Like, it was the big question for him is, okay, if when you rest this night, you don't have Tatum to kind of offset that for the Celtics. So that, to me, is an interesting point. I'm more curious about, I'm very confident Tatum will be fine. I'm curious about what happens with Derek White. Is he going to get back to what he was doing the beginning half of last season when he was contributing offensively? It felt like his production really dwindled toward the conclusion of the season, especially in the postseason. I know he was great defensively, and that's a great attribute for any player to be a great defender, but you got to hit threes, and that's what he does. I was hoping that when Tatum came back, Derek White's catch and shoot 3-pointers would go up. It didn't, and kind of stayed the same. That to me was concerning. So maybe with the full year under their belt, coming back, can they figure that out and get Derek White back on the same page?
Yeah, the good thing is, from a perspective of us here at 98.5 with the Celtics on the air, it's a damn interesting season. But interesting and good are 2 different things, and they are going to be interesting. It was a little bit like over the course of some of the Patriots' dynasty years. Obviously, the most glaring example would be 2008. Tom Brady goes down. It's like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So we can't just assume we're going to the AFC title game or the Super Bowl. And they didn't, but that was a fun season. There's some behind the scenes that, some believe behind the scenes interesting. This sort of ties into Jaylen Brown. That was one of Belichick's favorite seasons. A season in which they did not go to the playoffs was one of Bill Belichick's favorite seasons. And Jaylen Brown, one of his favorite seasons, was a season in which they lost in the first round of the playoffs. And some people believe that's why he had to be shipped out of town, because he said something so honest as that. But there is going to be an interesting season played out for your Boston Celtics. And it may be what you're talking about, Jake. It may be another, 52 wins last year?
Yeah.
52. Maybe it's another 50-plus win season. Just insert Jason Tatum for Jaylen Brown as the singular centerpiece of what's going on. And I think you rightly bring up Derek White because he did not, I didn't think, elevate his game last year. And certainly the numbers didn't. Like, his shooting went sideways. Now, some of the big analytics are in basketball now. Some of the analytics will tell you he's way better than Jaylen Brown, that he's one of the best players on the Celtics, best players in the league. You can take your analytics and stuff them where I can't say on the radio, but he is going to be in the forefront. And I want to ask you, before we head to our first break, look at that. I'm looking at the clock, Garvin. How about me? Eyes on the clock there. Question I asked you that kind of stunned Alex Barth when I asked him on Friday, to the point where he started saying names and then stopped before he would finish said names. Who is the leader of the Boston Celtics right now? Who is the leader?
Tatum. Without a doubt.
You sure about that?
Absolutely.
Best player? Yep. Leader? Maybe.
Well, who else in the NBA you go by your best player?
Yeah, sometimes.
So, who?
And sometimes when your best player is not your leader, you in trouble.
Okay, that's fair. But also the Celtics, by the way, if you want to say Jaylen Brown was the alpha leader, how they do with him in the last 10 years and Tatum together? I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. And that would be my point. I think you lost the guy that took the... And I find this, and you bring it up, the NBA is an interesting world where leaders, we get into who's driving the bus conversation that they always love to do on now ESPN, formerly TNT. You know, we had the conversation for years here. Was Marcus Smart sort of the leader of the Celtics, even though Tatum and Brown were the pillars or whatever you wanted to call them? And then when you get rid of Marcus Smart, you see Jaylen Brown step up, and he definitely has a more physical, aggressive presence at times, right, on the court. Giannis rolling around with him on the floor and having a little attitude. We don't see that from Jason Tatum. Can we agree on that? We don't see that dog, the dog on the court.
I just think he's a little bit more, he's a quiet person in some ways. And maybe that he's not leading by flexing his muscles and screaming on the top of his lungs like a Marcus Smart would.
Yeah.
But he has those moments. Like, go back to Game 3 in Philadelphia. He hit that three-pointer, turned around, had that mean mug, if you want to call it. Those things, I think also we also confused, and I say we as like the public media, consumers of basketball, whatever you want to call yourselves, that those things on the court when the players are flexing or screaming or doing things that make you go, oh, that's the alpha, that often gets confused with being a leader. And sometimes you can lead by just leading by example, leading by being the quiet guy and doing the right things. Mm-hmm. Jason Tatum has nothing off the floor that's been any issue for him throughout his entire career. So he's leading in that category. Not to mention, too, and I'm not insinuating that the Celtics got rid of players to make this a Tatum organization. I'm not going down that path. But when you look at the roster, it's Derek White, Tatum friend, Tatum, obviously. Joe Mazzulla, Tatum likes him.
Oh, yeah.
Paul George and Tatum are close. So there's all these things that makes it Tatum's ecosystem, if you want to call it that. And I think naturally it'll lead for him to be the leader, even if he's not the vocal leader and it's not standing out. People are going to naturally gravitate toward him.
617-779-0985. We see you lining up. Yes, we are days later, but we're still trying to figure it out. Jaylen Brown is a member of the Philadelphia 76ers, and as Jake Seymour just said, this is Jason Tatum's team. And in fact, we heard from Jason Tatum via social media. And as we do, anytime we read one of these or see one of these, we are going to break down each and every detail of Jason Tatum's Instagram post commenting on Jaylen Brown's departure via trade. We also have a Hall of Fame Celtic chiming in. Robert Parrish didn't like the deal for Jaylen Brown. We have another Hall of Fame Celtic chiming in about Jaylen Brown and did he get done dirty by the Boston Celtics? What's ahead of him? So we'll have that, your phone calls. Andy Hart, Jake Seymour on a Sunday morning here on 98.5.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Come celebrate America.
Holy Moses. I guess while we're grab-assing here to start the segment, I might as well also throw this out there. Going to blow your mind, Garvin. Going to blow your mind.
What do you got?
Kind of hit me the other day, A, that I'm aging, but B, so we're celebrating the 250th, this great nation, right?
Sure.
I'll be 50 soon. I'm knocking on the door in a few years. I've been alive for 20% of the country.
Yeah. I think it's just more of our country is not that old.
Yeah.
We haven't collectively been around for that much time when you put us up against, any country in the Asian Pacific that's been around for thousands of
dynasties.
Years. Yes.
Whereas I look at the founding fathers and the wigs and the clothes, and it's like, oh, that was forever ago. Not really.
No, it really wasn't.
Kind of was. It was only 5 of my lifetimes ago.
Yeah, you're that much closer to it.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Powdered wig days.
Also made me feel like not really maximizing what I'm doing on the planet. Not sure I've really left the mark to know that I've been here for 20% of the country. And,
Come on, you were in the paper the other day. How many people can say that?
Yeah, that was weird. Was I the only one who found that weird?
I don't really care too much.
The old any publicity is good publicity kind of thing.
Yeah.
Slow news day, but
you're getting a reaction. People care.
Wore a Jaylen Brown jersey. And,
see, you can't say that you haven't left an impact because people obviously care.
Do they? Or did one blogger be like, I got a light day. They told me to get something up. And, hey, Andy was on the radio in an idiotic Jaylen Brown jersey.
No, it could be that, too.
Because, when you're blogging and you're, assigned a certain amount of content, sometimes you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel there.
I don't know. I mean, Andy Hart, new debut, Kelsey Swift wedding. I mean, there was some stuff going on.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. Mike Vrabel, as it relates to the Kelsey Swift wedding. The White House was into a lot going on there. But we are talking about the trade that no one seems to have a great answer for. My guy Jake Seymour tried to give me an answer, and it was about, contracts and flexibility and draft picks, and I don't care for that answer, Jake.
Well, no, I don't care for it either, and I think that fans shouldn't take that either.
Yeah.
But that's what it was, I think, when you look at everything that's happened, because what else can you make of this deal? Does it make the Celtics better? Are the Celtics a better basketball team today for trading away Jaylen Brown for Paul George?
Some people believe they are actually better than the Celtics from a year ago, simply because Jason Tatum is a better player. So you're going to have a one-star team like you had for the bulk of last season, and some people believe, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, I may be a bit of a hater or a doubter, but some people believe, yes, you're a better basketball team than the one from a year ago with your moves this offseason because of Tatum's return. You add a big and what you've done there. Some people will talk themselves into, and they were a 2 seed a year ago, right? So if you were the 2 seed a year ago and you believe you're better, now you got to take into account the rest of the conference and who you believe is good, but I guess you can talk yourself into you're a better basketball team.
So in the 20 games that Tatum was back for in the end of the regular season, came back for, the Celtics looked great. Everybody thought they were going to make a deep postseason run.
Yeah,
everybody did.
I did.
Most people did.
I thought they were going to play OKC.
I thought they were going to at least get to the conference finals. And they should have gotten there. They had a chance to beat Philadelphia in 5 games, blew the 3-1 lead. We all know what happened after that.
Yeah.
But after that loss, I remember I was at that game, went to the press conference, did the Brad Stevens end of season review press conference, and I left there thinking that there was going to be a change. I did not realize that Jaylen Brown was going to be a part of that. And maybe the shock wasn't that Jaylen Brown got traded in the aftermath of the last month, but it was the return. So if they had got out and got VJ Edgecombe in this deal,
changes everything. Everything.
Okay, so now they've reloaded. They have a younger star.
Yep.
Tatum's still here. You start to say, okay, now they have the runway, especially with those draft picks now too. It changes a lot of how you perceive this trade.
Yeah.
But a 36-year-old Paul George, I know you said that you don't want to talk about the 5-year plan. I think the 5-year plan you can still talk about even if Brown was still here, whether you keep him or you move off him. But that 5-year plan, if VJ Edgecombe was here, you're going to have him entering his prime, and he looked really good in his rookie season. Tatum's still going to be here, and those draft picks start to come in. And all of a sudden, I would probably sit here if they got Edgecombe and say, okay, that makes sense. Is Edgecombe the quality of player right now that Jaylen Brown is? Probably not. But you're betting that he can become a Jaylen Brown. And right now the trajectory looks like he can. And Philadelphia's in a win now mode, so it makes sense for them to try and move off Edgecombe.
Yeah, if you had gotten Edgecombe and a guy who opened the season by making the Celtics look bad and look really good himself, if you had gotten him, I think it changes the entire perception of this trade, reaction, even for me, a Jaylen Brown guy, because now I can buy into, your timeline talk. You've staggered your timeline. You have what you believe is a developing young star whose big money deals are down the road on the horizon, and you're staggering that with Tatum and maybe building your Ugo, those guys as they develop, and Tatum, like all of that makes so much more sense than simply, well, we got a $54 million guy back that in 2 years we can get rid of out from under. You know what I mean? Like all that just, so I agree with you 100%. But I teased it before the break, and you said right before the break that Jason Tatum is indeed the leader of the Boston Celtics. So as the leader, you're the spokesman, you're the face, you're the be-all, you're the end-all. So you would expect we're going to hear from Jason Tatum in regards to the Jaylen Brown trade, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we did on Instagram. On a photo of, great photo, by the way, of, I don't know if it's their first year together, but old school Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, good look. The Jaylen Brown's hair is like 5 inches tall. Jason Tatum with the straight line right across the foot. Good look. Was his comment, his reaction. So I'll read this if I can. I'm going to tilt my head because for some reason he decided he had to tilt the text on the post to make it harder for people like me. 9 years, exclamation point. And stop me anywhere you want, Jake, if you feel the need to note something, rip something, googly eyes left look at something as we would do on Instagram. 9 years, exclamation point. Forever grateful for all that we accomplished together, for pushing me to be a better player. From first round exits, I'm going to pause myself.
Yeah, just say plural exits is
yeah. Exits? And why are we starting negative? Wouldn't you start, if you were like acknowledging a great run, wouldn't you start with the good? Wouldn't you start with some of the greatest accomplishments that you guys had together? Why are we starting with first round exit? Is he pointing out the first round exit last year? Is he pointing a finger at who might have been incapable of leading them out of the first round last year? Jake, what was your perception on that?
What's kind of funny to me about the first round is if you go and look at, I'm on the Celtics reference page. So from going back to 2014 to 15, they lost in the first round. The following year, lost in the first round. Brown gets drafted the next year, and they don't lose the first round again until 2020, 2021, which, if you remember, Jaylen Brown did not play in that series. He was hurt.
He was injured.
Can't blame him for that one.
And then this past season, they lose in the first round, and Tatum was hurt for the final game. So when you talk about first round exits,
hurt
I know
was in
technically
quotes.
the team
Whoa. Hurt was in
exits.
quotes.
He had some
It was a maintenance day. Come on.
maintenance with his Achilles. That's probably a better way to frame it.
We all need a mental health day here and there, a day to just refresh.
Well, this goes back, if you want to talk about that injury, who do you think made the decision for that? Do you think it was Tatum who called out and said, hey, I can't play tonight?
Yeah. Because you just told me before the break, this is Tatum's team. You kind of acknowledge that the coach of the Celtics is Tatum's guy, right?
Right, but if
players
we go
around him are Tatum's players.
So if we build off this point and we go back and put ourselves back to May 1st, whenever that was, beginning of May, and talk about what has now transpired, if you're the Celtics probably had an inkling at that point that moving off Jaylen Brown was a realistic possibility in the offseason.
Yes.
So if this season is going well and Tatum has a scare with his Achilles injury, as an organization, if you know you're building your franchise around this player, don't you say, hey, stop. You're not playing tonight. We're not going to push this anymore because you're what the franchise is going to be. You're going to be the leader for the next 5 years and well into the future. So we don't want to push it. You're off tonight. And you can still get on him, by the way, for Jaylen Brown not knowing about that until less than an hour before tip-off on Game 7.
Absolutely.
That's unacceptable.
I like where your brain's at, and I'm going to take it a Sunday morning we're playing radio step further. Let's just say you're right, because there was, in the Athletic piece that came out on Friday, there was some writing, some reporting in there that the Celtics, even back in the winter, heading into the trade deadline when they were pursuing Giannis, were already going down the road of one way or the other, Jaylen Brown is going out of town. There was sort of that written in there. So let's go to your theory there. But let's take it a little step further. If they win the first series and maybe go where they were supposed to go, 2 seed, you're supposed to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, doesn't it make it more difficult PR-wise to trade Jaylen Brown, to break them up? If less than half a season of Jason Tatum, he comes back, they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, oh my God, we have such a dynamic duo. Doesn't it make it more difficult to trade Jaylen Brown after a successful postseason run than it would if you blow a lead and blow a series, that gives you the crack in the door to say this doesn't work. That gives the crack in the, we're not built right. We got to do things different. We need more dunks or whatever Brad was saying and bigs and all that. Is it possible they wanted to lose that series? I asked it.
I'm not going to say that any organization openly
I didn't either. I just
wants to lose a series at all. But it kind of goes back to where this franchise was a year ago, in that they lost the series to the Knicks. They blew 2 20-point leads in the late in games in the second round to the Knicks, a team that at the time they should have definitely beaten. They were the much better team. I understand they were stuck with Kristaps Porzingis, and you can talk about and point to a multitude of different things. But that Celtics team coming off the championship should have got back to the finals, no question about it. And we talked about last summer that if they win that series and go to the conference finals and win that and go to the finals, is it possible for the Celtics to blow up that nucleus?
Probably not.
Right.
So they learned that lesson.
So to your point, it's kind of, they regressed this year. They lost in the first round. So it opened up the crack to be water to make more changes.
And the guy they were keeping, as you pointed out, sat out Game 7. The guy they were going to trade didn't find out that the guy they were keeping was out until right before the game. There's a lot of, I know this would never hold up in court, but if we were doing one of those boards where you tie the strings to the pins and connect the dots, we got some interesting pins, dots, photos, and big red pen circles around pieces of information that I think we can piece together. 617-779-0985. Andy Hart, Jake Seymour here on a Sunday morning on the Sports Hub. We will continue to read between the lines and the words of Jason Tatum and what he had to say about Jaylen Brown's exit. And then we're going to get into some Paul Pierce comments, because Paul Pierce, he's been traded away from the Celtics, but he's still obviously a Green Teamer for Life Hall of Famer. What are his thoughts on Jaylen Brown's trade? We'll continue to break this down, and if you can answer the why, it's 617-779-0985 on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Jake, I believe is the
That's what the
scheduled
Twitter
time.
reports are. I did not get a. I'm gonna double check my email right now, but I did not get an official press release for that.
Bill Chisholm is also expected to speak with the media, answer questions. We're going to hear things like private equity brought up, and I don't know. Hey, Bill, how come since you bought the team, we got rid of all our good players, right, Ryan Gardner?
Do you think that I am so incredibly fascinated about how they are going to spin this? Do you think that they will get out in front of the money allegations first, or will they wait to be asked about?
I think
Is this a move to save money for the future?
I think they will attempt to get ahead of it. And it'll be very interesting because these are delicate dances. I would go back to, remember when Terry Pagula did the press conference post Sean McDermott firing in Buffalo, and it was a debacle. And it was one of the, stop talking, sir. Sir, you have other people that are better than you. You may have billions of dollars and bought the right to sit at that table, but doesn't mean you're good at it. And this is the first.
It swung so violently from Brad we trust, he's the best, to a lot of people are saying you got to fire him. I feel
strong.
I think it's incredibly strong. I think there's some middle ground there where he did a horrible job on this trade, but I don't know if that is a direct reflection on his ability to do the job. But just I think of when John Henry, one of the last times he got in front of Red Sox fans, and he was up on stage at, I think, Winter Weekend or whatever, saying, baseball players are expensive.
Yeah.
And he got booed off the stage. It was one of these moments in Red Sox franchise history where you go, oh, wow. We kind of thought this is what you were when you traded Mookie Betts, but now we know for sure that you are not in this to win anymore. This is a portfolio divestment project for you. So if Bill Chisholm and or Brad Stevens comes out and they try to get in front of what I think is justifiably I'm not saying it's a good reason to do it, but I think it is the reason they did it, which is trying to save money for the future. If they try to get out in front of it and say, this is what we want to do so we can be competitive for the future, I think that's going to be a bad look because, as you guys said to begin the show, you had two superstars.
Yeah.
You kind of did the tough part. Most teams can't find one. You had two. And we can quibble about what the analytics say or otherwise, but you had two, at a minimum, all-star caliber players in here, locked up long-term. One guy just turned 30 years old. And now, if you're the new owner and you've already gutted your championship roster from a couple of years ago, and then you sit over at, the Auerbach Center, I'm guessing, and go, hey, we really care about, luxury tax penalties. That's going to be a horrible look in front of the Boston Celtics fans.
Well, I'll tell you, I look forward to it because I will be on these airwaves tomorrow afternoon with Alex Barth from 2 to 6. I believe that's at 4 o'clock, so we'll probably be airing some of that, at least a portion, live, and then reacting live to if they did a good job. I'll give them credit for doing a good job, or we might be sort of pinpointing some words that were less than ideal in that situation. So we'll get to that tomorrow. But right now we're parsing some words from Jason Tatum, and we stopped his statement when he decided to bring up first-round exits before World Championships with Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that, too, because we said this in between the breaks.
Yep.
The first-round exits I thought was funny because he's talking about the two things that they did together, two of the outcomes of their season. Well, both of those first-round exits happened when one was hurt for a game or the other one was out for the entire series.
Right.
So, if you want to summarize what we did together and the power that we had, you're talking about two things that are examples of what happened when you guys weren't together.
Correct.
Which I think
when you're talking about the team deciding to not have you guys together permanently.
It's just
sort of interesting.
They went through the experience together and the aftermath of that. Sure, I understand that, but just kind of funny that that's where they came to. That was the conclusion that he came to.
Also, do we always assume something like this? Did he write this? Did he sit down? No, you think this
I don't
has
think
helped?
he did. I think he might have.
Deuce, Mama, one of those.
So, I think that they probably had some communications offline that we're not privy to. I'd be shocked if those two have not talked at least once since this all went down. But when it comes to stuff like this, You've got people for that.
You should, and they should know what they're doing, and hopefully they're good at it. So after he brought up the first-round exits and winning a chip together, he says, nothing but love and respect for you as a player and as a person. Looking forward to see how you attack this next chapter of your career and wish nothing but the best for you. Continue to be special. That was what Jason Tatum wrote on his Instagram account. So he's wishing nothing but the best for him. So does that mean he's really wishing like, hey, I hope LeBron joins you and you guys are like a super team in the East that mows through us and the rest of the conference?
This reads like, man, this is the gross part of Sports Talk Radio, but we're going to parse his words here. This reads like in this business, people end up moving on from different places. Andy, sometimes people don't have a say in it. But
true.
Even
been there.
If you like that person or not as a professional courtesy, like I've had bosses and I'm had not gotten along with and they move on and I just go, hey, I want to thank you,
Yep.
There is a professional courtesy that you extend just as a human being, even though you're like, man, this is awkward. We didn't get along. Remember all those times you yelled at me for no reason other than you're having a bad day? It's stuff like, so again, when you're like, do you think you wrote this? Like, no, I think there's somebody that's like, hey, can we do this? And he's like, yeah, sure, fine. I'm Jason Tatum. I'm doing Jason Tatum things.
Right.
This reads very much like, like two coworkers that, maybe had differing opinions on things, but they were kind of amicable. If they were over at the refrigerator, they'd have some nice banter. But this doesn't read like two people who were together for 10 years and literally achieved the peak of success in their business. This reads like two guys that were in the same cubicle block.
Jake, he just said something interesting that I hadn't really thought of. Do you think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have communicated this week? Not like this, not like, hey, I'll put out a statement. I mean, texted and or talked directly to each other.
This is what I was trying to find. I thought I saw on Twitter that he said during his live stream that there was someone that tweeted something out about the young guys had reached out to him.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I'm not making that up.
No, you're correct, Jake. So
I'm trying to find it to triple check before
he
said it, but
talked
he did
about
say that,
the young
right?
guys. He talked about the young guys
he specifically
who he loved.
named
We know all year he loved them.
Luka Garza and Neemias Queta. Those two by name. I don't know if there were other people.
And he also had a line in there, something about, because I've done this, and I know I've done this, because back a while, 2 months ago, he talked about having Jason on his Twitch, and it never happened. And I kept waiting, and I was in different places with different opportunities to note this on a weekly, daily basis that, how long's it been? How many days has it been? He still hasn't been on. And he referenced in this most recent live stream, and people want to talk about who hasn't been on my live stream or something like that. I don't think they've talked this week. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think they've had direct communication this week.
It certainly feels that way. There's more evidence pointing toward that, it feels like, than the other side of it.
And I don't believe
he said it on the stream talking to the young guys. Like, I'm trying to think, if you work with somebody for 10 years and you're the running mates, you're running you work in sales and you guys are next to each other every day, 10 years. How are the kids? Oh yeah, that was the weekend. Blah, blah, blah. You guys talk, good friends, see each other out on the weekends. And then that guy leaves. You're not calling him or at least sending him a text saying, oh, I'm going to miss you, man. We had a lot of good times.
And take it a step further.
That's like the human thing to do.
And also, if you did have contact, while you're listing the people you've had contact with, you would list the most notable person, and that would be Jason Tatum. You've been together for a decade. You've had I got to reverse it. You've had first-round exits, and you've had world championships together. You would note. You wouldn't just know. You wouldn't lead with Luke. That's like, leading with an intern. You do a radio. Let's just say, Jake, you and I, they say, that's a great show. They put us together for the next 20 years. And then we break up and I say, you know who I talked to? That intern from Tufts who was here for 2 months. Like, wait, what? You're not going to talk about Jake, the guy you did a show with for 20 years? So I don't think they've had
when this statement broke, I was doing Felgramaz with Paul Perillo and Sean Silver on Friday.
Brag.
And
Paul Perillo, you work with him?
Sean Silver walked into the control room and I said, hey, did you see Tatum post a statement? And he said, he goes, yeah, I saw it. He goes, it reads kind of, I go, like a LinkedIn response.
Yeah.
And that's jokingly saying, like, if you go through LinkedIn, it's all the generic, wow, congratulations, well deserved. Right. Chicago's not ready for you. Have fun. Like, like that's kind of what the response reads like. It's a very typical networking kind of just out there response. Instead of like, especially when you go back and read what Tatum wrote about Robert Williams, You see that?
I did not do that, but I like where you're going here. I like this, Jake.
But again, it reads very much like, hey, this would be in your brand's best interest, Jason, if you release something on your social media.
Okay, so we've already read for what Tatum said about Jaylen Brown. This is what Tatum said about Robert Williams. So he posted a photo, like you can share a post on Instagram from the Celtics. So it's a photo of Tatum and Robert Williams in the paint area together. Tatum writes, quote, "This one hurt. My brother right here. Toughest part about this business. Appreciate you for everything. Super proud of the player you have become and excited to see how far you take it. Keep striving to be special and never change who you are. My dog, 4L, for life. Till we link up again, nothing but love," with a fingers crossed emoji.
Wow.
I think Jason Tatum was probably more busted up when Javonte Green left the organization than Jaylen Brown. Here, I'll pose this question. Does it matter to you two that these guys maybe weren't the best of friends within the organization?
Nope. Because I think they coexisted just fine on I whether it's this business, another business, if you can do the job, I don't need you having wings and beers after the game. I don't need you, going out on the freaking pontoon boat on 4th of July with your families together, as long as it works on the court. And I've always believed that. It's a little bit, we had a 2-decade run of greatness with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, where they don't have steak dinners together. They don't really, they get along really well for most of it until the end. They get along really well, melded together as a like-minded, aggressive, competitive football machine. And I think you had some of that, not quite to the degree. I don't think quite to the degree, because this is different, because it's 2 players, 1 ball, final shot, all of that. But I think on a basketball court, I like to say thanks to Jaylen Brown, because I think he was the one who kind of subjugated his ego a little bit, as they like to say, to fit in. But I think they worked on the basketball court. So I don't really care. Now, I think it's a little weird, and I do think you have to be careful playing the public game, because people like Jake, who have memories and fingers and keyboards, can look and be like, you were more worked up over Rob Williams than you were Jaylen Brown. And it felt... Now, the other issue... Garvin, you said you think these are sort of PR messages from PR staffs or whatever.
I'm reasonably sure.
What if he wrote the Rob Williams one himself? What if one was actually him and one wasn't? And one was PR and one wasn't?
You bring up a great point on that, because when you read the Rob Williams one, there's an emoji. It's a little bit of text slang, right? 4L, for life. When you read the Brown one, there's no text slang, there's no emojis. It's very just polished. It's almost too polished.
Just my perception would be Tatum wrote the Rob Williams one, and at least a group of people or a PR person wrote this one.
He wrote brother with an A. That's not me trying to be the boss. No, brother with an A, not ER. That's just, to me, that's funny.
Right.
That to me proves that there was some kind of change. Now, maybe Tatum, there is a possibility that Tatum did write the Jaylen Brown one, and maybe he's decided that he wants to be more polished on the way that he writes things. I'm not ruling that out, but there are certainly some more things you look at. Oh, this one reads more like the best buddy who I worked with for 10 years. And the other one's like, I was really cordial with him. We got along and we did some great things, but he's gone now. Okay.
And I was just going to say, we're making too much of this. Is that safe to say?
Of course.
This is in the layering of the issues to discuss. Who wrote Jason Tatum's Instagram? What the language was? Kind of irrelevant to Brown, Tatum, and the Boston Celtics moving forward.
You mentioned Bill Belichick, and I think one of the worst things that Bill Belichick could have ever done while he was here is you left so much of it up to us on this end. When you don't say anything, and we are trying to, do shows and podcasts and write and everything like that in television, we're not just going to go, oh, well, he didn't say anything, let's move on to something else. We're going to fill in those blanks. And yes, I understand we're really, splitting the atom here on this specific statement from Jason Tatum's Instagram account. However, I think it is just a bigger picture fascination of these two guys were here for a decade. They grew up together, and it at times felt like they couldn't be further apart, which, again, I personally don't have a problem with. Where I start to lose my patience is listening to people shout me down for going, no, you're not seeing this, you're not seeing that, or you're flat out wrong. Much like in the way that, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady were together, it's like this. There's this professional understanding of, I trust you 7 days a week that you're going to do the best of your abilities to win games for us. And I think that's kind of, at least I feel, that's kind of what it grew into with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, hey, man, you're doing your thing, the stream, it's cool, whatever. I'm a dad. Like, I've got a bunch of like business stuff going on. You're very involved in the community. Like, we're doing totally different things. We lead very different lives off the court, but ultimately we can coexist because I, as Jason Tatum, I'm going to do everything I can to train like a maniac and get back from a bad injury or make sure I can stay on the floor. And I, as Jaylen Brown, am going to do the same thing. I am going to be out here and I'm going to give every opportunity and I make the most of every opportunity I have on the floor. And I think that could ultimately, combined with success, be a reason why two guys who are very, very different can continue to kind of mesh the way that they did despite really being kind of different.
And just to put a pin on the final hour, if we're going to analyze Jason Tatum's Instagram, I'm sure you guys saw the release from Jaylen Brown's foundation, the Juice, talking about just because he's leaving Boston doesn't mean sort of all the community interaction is leaving Boston with him. In fact,
punting best buddies to somebody else.
Exactly. He is going to stay entrenched here, that those roots, those programs, everything he's been involved with will continue to grow in the city of Boston. Now, I'm sure he'll take some of it to Philly with him too, or wherever he ends up as he moves along, but he's going to continue to be a part of this Boston community. 617-779-0985. 1 hour in the books, 3 hours to go. Andy Hart, Jake Seymour talking about the Jaylen Brown trade. We see your calls lining up. I promise you we will get to your phone calls. We'll get to Paul Pierce. We'll get to all the machinations of whatever the hell went on to get Jaylen Brown out of town and Jason Tatum as the centerpiece of the Celtics. Hour number 2, Seymour and Hart, up next here on 98.5 Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
something I would disagree with, and it's Andy Hart and Jake Seymour here on 98.5 The Sports Hub on a Sunday morning. I'm not sure. Can you see the Celtics coming? I believe he said, I heard it right, coming out of the East. So he believes the Celtics roster, as currently constituted, not, they got 2 more shoes to fall, right? Yeah, I heard that right, Garvin?
They could still come out the East with this roster.
No, they can't. No, Paul Pierce. They cannot come out of the East with this roster. Jake Seymour, am I wrong?
There does be a lot of things that go the Celtics' way. I feel like that happened. One of them being Paul George playing like PG-13 in Indiana. By the way, that was one of my favorite nicknames when I was a little kid growing up watching Paul George. Because on
really?
NBA TV, they used to say that they do a compilation of him crossing people up and be like, oh, you got to watch out. This one's PG-13. I always thought that was funny. I was like 10 years old.
He was a great player.
He was phenomenal.
He was a great player.
He was awesome.
Also has one of the most gross, horrific injuries in the history of sports.
First thing I think of whenever I hear his name is that
absolutely.
It wasn't even an actual game. It was like a blue versus white practice. It was like a scrimmage kind of thing, and not cool. Euro stanchions.
But that was Paul Pierce talking about, and a lot of the different things. And if you listen to what he says about the disrespect, he thinks, I believe, Jaylen Brown's going to have a really good year in Philly because he will utilize this trade and this latest sign of disrespect to motivate him to fit in with whatever's going on in his role for the 76ers. I think that's sort of what the picture is that Paul Pierce is painting there.
Yeah, if you're Jaylen Brown and you've been disrespected your entire professional basketball career, then you use it as another chip on the shoulder. The team that drafted me, that I gave everything I could possibly give to this organization, won Finals MVP, won the NBA Finals. They traded me for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks.
Yep.
And what I'm looking forward to as, the reporter in me and the storyteller, if you want to call it that, is I'm looking forward to watching Jaylen Brown and the Philadelphia 76ers go up against Tatum.
Oh, absolutely.
The Celtics in the playoffs.
Opening night,
I'm looking
please.
forward. Opening night. Give me that on Christmas Day. Give me that in the playoffs. I want the 7-game series because that story in itself would be fantastic for talk radio, report, like all the above.
Everything.
Yes. Please sign me up.
And I know everybody talks about, Jaylen's going to try to hang 50 on. My preference actually isn't anything to do with his scoring. I want to see him defending Jason Tatum, and I want to see that matchup and see how that would play out. Can he frustrate Jason Tatum a little? Obviously you had the Luka bringing the ball up the court. Is Jason Tatum bringing the ball up the court? Is Jaylen Brown meeting him at half court? And how that
slapping the floor at half court?
Absolutely. I would love to. And then maybe a little hard foul here or there or something. Maybe a little shoulder to shoulder. We got a little animosity here. See, I would pay to see that. 617-779-0985. We're going to go to the phone lines. And I warn you of that mainly because I've never used this call screener. And when I asked Garvin, he said, I think you click on this. So I'm going to click on something.
Click it.
And see if we can go to Gabe in West Roxbury who wants to talk about Jaylen Brown. Let's go to Gabe. Gabe, are you there?
I'm there.
Nailed it.
Good job, Andy.
Thank you.
Nailed it. All right. I'm going to be kind of brief, and I have a question for I'm so sorry, not for Andy, for
Jake
Seymour. I love you on the show with Big Joe. I listen all the
Thanks,
time.
Dave. Appreciate it.
And I think you said it like at the beginning. It really came down to just the one extra year of getting the money off the books. The Celtics did not want to pay Jaylen Brown and give him that extension, and I don't know how they got into a play. So Jaylen Brown has been through rumors, before, has been in rumors before. Now, this one was weird. Stevens got played for. Creek was always going to Miami. Milwaukee leveraged Stevens to get more picks from Miami. And then Stevens was left there hanging with Brown in the wind. About a day went by where it was like silence, like on TV, where it was like, oh, maybe Jaylen will come back. But then it was a report. They're looking for 4 first-round picks for Jaylen. So during that time, Jaylen must have been like, all right, this is, you try to dangle me for Durant, for this, it's gone too far now. And he gave a list of teams that he wanted to be dealt to. I'm sure Stevens tried to accommodate him to the best, which he did because, Stevens isn't that dumb to send him to a team we might face in the playoffs.
Thanks for the call, Gabe. Ooh, look, I dropped him. 2 for 2.
Mastered it.
Put him on the air and took him off the air. Gabe, thank you for the phone call and the passion. That was something we haven't touched on yet. There was this report that there may have been a list and that Jaylen Brown had some say as to where he might go. And that kind of melds into the reporting of teams that weren't interested. A Portland or a Houston was in the Athletic article that once the price was out there, that whole 4 first-round picks price, some teams were like, yeah, we're not in. I don't understand why you wouldn't make an offer. I've never understood that part of this story. They can ask for whatever they want to ask for, and now they're getting roundly criticized for taking a bad trade. So maybe your bad trade in your mind, if you're Portland or Houston or whoever you are, actually ends up being better than the bad Philly trade. Where are you on all of the sort of details of the trade talks, the shopping? And I think, Gabe brought it up. It was after Giannis, and I think Jaylen Brown referred to it as a left turn in his stream. And I think that's where this went left, absolutely sideways, was, okay, you can dangle me for Giannis, but now you're just flat out shopping me for picks?
Yeah, I think when Jaylen Brown was being shopped, say, before the finals that he won.
Yep.
With Kevin Durant,
yep,
going back Anthony Davis, but even a few years before that, those are all players that he was not better than at this point of his age, right? And he hadn't won the finals yet. He hadn't been the finals MVP. So after he wins those awards, it's kind of like he enters a different echelon of NBA players. And I'm just going back to the quote that he said on the stream. I think Brad is probably getting a lot of criticism. I wasn't thrilled with the way he facilitated some of the conversations, but I definitely think there's more to it. I just wish that the more to it could have been explained to me, because the more of it was explained, I think I would have understood. I think I earned respect enough to get that explanation, but hey, obviously I was wrong. That, to me, that quote, that's not Jaylen Brown saying, they just wanted me out and they wanted to trade me because of who I am and what I brought to this team. He kind of goes there. He says there's another layer to it that he wished was explained to him. That, to me, says that this wasn't a Brad Stevens decision. It was ownership. So if that's the case, well, why does ownership want to move off a player? It would be they don't like him. They don't like the way that he holds himself. Maybe that's the streaming element of it, right? Or it's the contract. Well, since Bill Chisholm has gotten into the Celtics organization, he's stripped away. He's gotten the team underneath the first, second aprons, luxury taxes. Yep. That's what we've seen the Bill Chisholm era. That's how it started off as. He got rid of Drew Holiday. He traded Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Luke Cornett, now Jaylen Brown. Well, that's 5 pieces from the championship team that just are no longer a member of the organization. So when that happens and Jaylen Brown says this, well, what's that other layer? It leads it up for interpretation, and it says, based on what Chisholm has done, you can go back to deadline 2. They moved off Simmons to get Vucevic.
Yep.
That got him a little bit cheaper, got underneath the tax at the deadline. That's why they weren't a tax-paying team this year. So all those things to me say, well, where's this team going? And did Jaylen Brown get a hint of that and say, yeah, it'll come out? Same thing with Al Horford. He had that when Golden State played Boston. Like, yeah, it'll come out in due time.
What if so you took it, and if there's different layers, and I agree with you, oftentimes money, cha-ching, is a big part of how you follow the money. You read these things. You looked upward for the layer. You went up the personnel chart from Brad Stevens to ownership. What if you look down? What if you look down for a different layer, like maybe the head coach, who I think we can all agree it's not a perfect fit between Jaylen Brown and Joe Mazzulla, and the way Joe Mazzulla believes you play basketball and the way Jaylen Brown believes you play basketball. Whether it's three-pointers versus mid-range elbow jumpers, taking it to the hoop, playing on different things that he brings to the game. And in the Athletic piece, there was an allusion or a reference, a report of freelancing, kind of going off script.
Off script was the term.
Absolutely. And that could be a growing issue with Joe Mazzulla, who I think is more in line with Jason Tatum. That's also you said earlier, you kind of paired those up. The coach and Jason Tatum are kind of on the same page, and Jaylen Brown isn't. Is that a layer possibility?
Definitely could be. I just think that the way he said it, but I definitely think that there's more to it. I just wish the more to it could have been explained to me. He would have known that was the case. He would have understood if, let's say, Joe Mazzulla wanted Jaylen Brown out. Let's work on that theory for a second. Well, don't you think that Jaylen Brown would have got a whiff of that from Mazzulla? He's with Mazzulla 9 months of the year, traveling all over the country, 82 games plus playoffs. I feel like Brown would have understood that and seen the writing on the wall. He's a very smart guy. He would have understood that's what it was.
You just had me envisioning like Tatum and Mazzulla in a room, like whispering together. And Brown walks in and they're like, "Oh, no. Yeah. Hell, hey, Jaylen, how are you? No, we weren't. We're talking about what? No, we weren't talking in here."
But again, just working on that. Players often say when they're moved or there's this a decision that's made, it's we don't understand it, and this is what it is. Well, that usually points to something in the front office or ownership. Like, I'm not to cross sports here, but going back to what happened with the Red Sox and Alex Cora when he was fired in April, a lot of the players didn't understand the move. And, well, who made that decision? It was the front office and ownership as well, probably part of that. So, and then, of course, we had the comments from, I believe it was Garrett Whitlock, who came out and said that they were just kind of told that players play and not to worry about what the... So, like, they don't understand why Cora was fired. They probably still don't, and that's a decision that's above them. If it was Alex Cora did X, Y, and Z in the clubhouse and it caused him to get fired, the players would have understood that because they saw it. So, working that same logic on this, if it was something that was closer to Brown, i.e. coaching staff, Tatum, I think he would have saw that happening and reacted differently instead of saying, yeah, it was never explained to me and this is what it is now.
Can I add on to that real quick? How often, and especially in the NBA, but across any sport, how often is it where the coach wins the power struggle over the player? Almost in every single instance, the player is the one that gets what they want and the coach gets shipped out.
Especially when he is a $57 million player who's knocking on the door of becoming a $70 million a year player. You're right. The money, the cachet, you can't fire all the players, so you move on from the coach kind of power struggle situation. It's interesting. And we fixated on the Jason Tatum response to the Jaylen Brown trade. I will be interesting to see, and Jake, when would be the next time where we will hear from Boston Celtics players in sort of a scrum setting?
The players?
Side of the court where you're randomly talking to Derek White, Kada, any of those, Ugo, Luka.
Training camp in September at least.
Yeah.
Media day would be after that, right?
Probably right before it, right around the same time. Media day, training camp, September.
Long enough so that the dust will have settled, the emotion will have. That's disappointing because you brought up a great example when you get players referencing in the heat of the moment, we were basically told to shut up and play baseball kind of thing. Or I'll go back to Devin McCourty standing in front of his locker after Jamie Collins was traded to the Browns in the middle of a season and said something to the effect of, I don't really understand how we got better by trading our best defensive player. Kind of. I would love to get some of that in the heat of the moment this week, the here and now reaction to the Jaylen Brown trade. But unfortunately, by September,
part of this new business model, like, that the Celtics seem to be forcing down everybody's throats is the guys that would be in a position to talk like that, like your veteran players. Al Horford, I think, is a great callback to what he was saying when he came back. Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, all those guys are gone. Luke Cornett, even those guys aren't. You think Jordan Walsh is going to go on a podcast and go, I don't understand how we're getting better here? You think Peyton Pritchard is going to sit there and go, oh yeah, you know what? I am going to be the next Jalen Brunson, or the total opposite of, oh, I don't understand what these analytics are saying. I just think this group as a whole is not really known for I don't want to say speaking out of turn, but I guess I think of what Miles Turner was saying about Giannis showing up late. I don't think there's anybody on this roster that is going to just be very transparent with how this move makes them feel. I think it's going to be a lot of, corporate BS and, we've got to win games now and, you're my brother and all that crap that we saw from the PR Tatum post. But I don't know that and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're definitely more in tune with this roster than I am, but I don't personally think that there is a single guy on this team that is going to put the team on blast or go after Jaylen Brown for issues that they had. I don't see.
Well, the guy who did that is now in Philadelphia.
Correct.
Probably.
Yeah, but the only veteran is White, right? Really, that's been here for a while.
Pritchard's been here a while now.
It's so funny that you're right. He has, but like you, I don't see him doing that, saying that, being that guy.
So I will say this: the journalist in me I want to understand what Tatum's thoughts are. I want to gather that information. Tatum has a charity event coming up, and I inquired about attending the event.
Oh, get there,
and
Bulldog!
I was told that Tatum would not be making any comments and not being made available at all.
BS
for the charity event, even though it was allowed to be covered. There would be no additional comments or availability made. So
that's interesting.
If Tatum's not going to, take the media questions and answer, and I understand it's a charity event, he's not obligated to do so. I understand all that, but that to me is also an inclination of where this is at. Is that they don't want anything out there. They want to wait until everything kind of blows over maybe in September, because
Right.
then it gives you time to, workshops different things, think about different
Absolutely.
things. And that's why, kind of, not to go off on a journalism tangent, but, you're a reporter, you were in there. That's why it's so valuable to be in the locker room.
Absolutely.
Because you get that raw emotion right when it happens.
Yep.
And to not get it, and that's the problem with off season too, like to not be able to get that is, I think it does the readers and the fans a disservice.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I think it's also telling, both that whether it was his idea and said, no, I'm not talking about JB, or other people's idea, organization, PR people, and he not saying, no, I played with him for 10 years. I'm going to talk about it. I'm a human being. I think that is interesting, maybe telling, informative. And you're right. By the time they talk about it at Media Day or in September, plenty of time to practice it and package it and get on the same page. That's the other thing. You certainly don't want Bill Chisholm speaks first. He says something. Then Brad Stevens says something. You're like, that didn't sound exactly like Bill Chisholm said. And then JT says something. You're like, well, that's different than either of those two guys said.
So now you've got my wheels turning, Andy, because it, along with some of the things that were referenced in the article with Sam Amick and Jay King, they're saying a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They're saying that by they, I mean the Celtics. Like other teams are giving their sides of how this all went down. But the leaks that are coming out from within the Celtics right now, they're saying so many different things about how this all went out. So now you have to answer, well, sources are saying that you thought Jaylen Brown acted as if he was the smartest guy in a room, which again, if you're in a room with Jason Tatum and Joe Mazzulla, how far is the intelligence there?
I believe JB said the bar is effing low.
Which is one of the funniest things I have ever heard a professional athlete say. It was such a self-deprecating comment. I really liked him for it. But again, he went off script. We thought Derek White had a better season last year. We think that Peyton Pritchard is going to unlock, here are the metrics. Like, there are so many things that are coming out from, like, talking heads are saying the Celtics are telling me blank. I don't know if they're going to have enough time to, like, get the Paul. They're talking Monday.
Yeah.
They're talking Monday.
Well, that's the part that I appreciate.
Do you think Brad has slept going, oh, my God, what am I going to tell people? Oh, they're going to hate me.
All right,
That's
let's
the
get
part
into
that I
that.
appreciate, though, real quick, is that I appreciate when people want to go on the record and talk about something, or even off the record. Nothing
Yes.
has to be 100% on the record. Just help the reporters understand what happened and why it happened, so that the audience and the fans can get the coverage and get the information that they deserve as season ticket holders, people who pay to go to games, buy the jerseys. Those are the people who deserve to understand what's going on.
So let's delve into that next. What are you going to hear from Bill Chisholm and Brad Stevens? What do you want to hear from Bill Chisholm and Brad Stevens? And do you think those two things will connect? 617-779-0985. Andy Hart, Jake Seymour here on 98.5 The Sports Hub on a Sunday morning.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
hate that we have to spend so much time dealing with in modern sports: finances and analytics. Analytics and finances, and it seems like one or both of those played a big role in Jaylen Brown being traded from the Boston Celtics, and I hate it because it's so new school, and you can tell Parrish hates it too. Like, I'm not going to be too critical because, I'm Robert Parrish, and when they win another title, I want to be on a duck boat or get invited to the party or whatever. But you can tell he just hates it because he's old school. You could tell he would welcome Jaylen Brown on the 86 Celtics or any of those Celtics teams over the years. He would absolutely welcome, and he would love if some other team was dumb enough to say he can't do X, he can't do Y because a number told me that. Robert Parrish is like, he can play with Bird and McHale and Parrish right over here. We'll accept him anytime. And that's part of this dynamic, Jake. And are you an analytics guy? Young, so I assume yes.
No.
Oh,
when
okay.
It comes to like
I like you more.
The net ratings that come out with Jaylen Brown. Like you want to tell me Jaylen Brown's a net negative play? Like you go do that on your own time.
Perfect.
He's old school. He's a young kid, but old school mentality when it comes to sports.
And I learned something over the first couple shifts here at 98.5 Sports Hub. Don't assume, because I thought Alex Barth would be an analytics guy.
No.
Not an analytics guy. Jake, young guy, covering the league, fresh out of college. I figured he'd be just throwing up analytics all over me. No.
So I will say I do subscribe to Cleaning the Glass, which is like an advanced analytics page, but I use it to say, hey, what is like a metric that not supports what I'm trying to figure out, but like, how can this help me understand this?
Sure.
Which is fine. But that's not the end-all, be-all.
And you watch games, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you see things, and maybe you use numbers to help strengthen your argument or back up, because a lot of your readers may be analytical people. So they don't want you to just throw, I saw this. You can say, I saw this. And then I went to this fancy website that put it in a number that you can eat up as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, and it's not like expected 3-point rate from the corner on your 17th birthday.
Or like Jeremy Swayman and his goals below expected or whatever the hell he was good at.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Then I'm watching him gag away like 6 goals in some random game, and you're telling me this number that he's so great. But tomorrow, 4 o'clock, I believe we're going with as the time we think it's going to take place. Brad Stevens, Bill Chisholm, they're going to answer some questions from the media. Will there be news reporters down there, you think? Is this a newsworthy story?
I think there will be news reporters there.
I hope so.
Reporters all over.
Because I like when the news guys swoop in and try to be like big-chested and like ask the tough questions.
What level are we talking? Like I consider Dan Roach to be a news guy.
I don't.
No, I don't.
Love you, Dan. Mean it. But
you mean like...
And Byron Barnett was the guy back in the day.
I don't think Maria Stefanos is going to go down there and ask questions.
Want somebody like that. Hard-hitting. Anderson Cooper.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that's hard-hitting. So I when you say news guys, I think like your anchor, like your sports anchor guys.
Yeah, no, I want more than that. I want I don't even know who it is now for Channel 7. I want like some news reporter who could just as easily be on the side of the road because of some murder asking a question of Bill Chisholm and Brad Stevens.
I don't want those people there.
I love it.
No, because they're just jumping in. Like, we've been here. Like, you leave it up to,
Yeah, but sometimes they throw haymakers from like the top rope, and you're like, oh, I kind of like that.
Since when?
Once in a while.
The Celtics beat writers don't throw.
No, I don't expect them. Earmuffs, Jake, if you don't want to be offended. But the green teamers on the beat are not going to ask all the tough questions necessarily. So I was looking for maybe Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy be there?
I would expect Shaughnessy to be there. I think some radio people might be there as well. I think that's where you get the real questions.
So do we want to start with what we want to hear or what we think we're going to hear, Jake?
Let's start about what we're going to hear, and then we can go into what.
Yeah, we're going to hear not much PR. We're going to hear how great Jaylen Brown was for a decade in Boston. We're going to hear about sort of loose but not specific allusions to modern NBA team structuring under the CBA with aprons but it's going to be like they're not going to flat out say this was a money deal, but there'll be some allusions to the challenges, and there'll be a reference to, and we've seen this not just with Jaylen but other aspects of our team over the last couple years, and we're seeing other teams start to have to acknowledge this in other cities as they in OKC and other places look at mapping out their team. We'll see a lot of that, a lot of generalities. I don't think we're going to get any answers. I really don't. I think it's going to be all those vague PR vagaries and talking points.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to be a lot of beating around the bush, not really saying what anyone thinks or knows right? And kind of going back to what's been out there. But what I'm curious about is how do they respond to when a reporter asks, this was reported, pick a news story. This was reported by this person in X outlet.
Brad, Andy Hart, 98.5 The Sports Hub, if they'll have me continued. There was a report that Jaylen Brown went off script too often in the postseason. Could you care to comment, confirm, or deny that?
And how do they respond to that? That's what I'm
And that is one of the things I am most interested in is Bill Chisholm is an unknown because he's new, right? Like he's new to this game. And interesting will be how he is asked questions, not just in terms of basketball money, but this whole private equity angle. And, do you have bosses that you sort of answer to financially? I don't even totally understand it, Jake. So the whole second part of the transaction of him buying the team, 49% is due at a certain time.
He financed like a car.
Yeah. No, it's like he has one of those. Remember the whole real estate crisis where people had ARMs or whatever, the variable rate mortgages, and it was like, oh, I'll sell it before it blows up interest rate, and then they were like,
no, you won't.
Oh no, my interest rate just quadrupled overnight. I can't make that mortgage payment. It feels like there's some of that. So Bill Chisholm's unknown at the microphone is natural because he's new to this whole thing. And as we mentioned earlier, we've seen owners fall on their faces. Rich guys doesn't mean you're ready to talk into a microphone. Brad Stevens, I also think, is a wild card because what were the toughest questions he's been asked? Like, what and when were the toughest questions? What were the real, what the hell are you doing? Do we even trust your decisions? What are the hardest questions that Brad Stevens has faced? And is he ready to face tough questions about a future Hall of Fame caliber player being let go?
Well, when we talk about this move, it's often equated to the worst trade in blank. Fill in the blank. Boston sports history.
Yeah.
Boston sports last 10 years.
Yeah.
So when I go through this, I think of the Mookie Betts trade.
Yep.
And probably this trade is right beneath it. And over Brad Stevens' tenure as not even just the president of basketball operations, but the coach of the Boston Celtics as well, there's not been a lot of times, if really at all, where he's had to answer for a very negative thing, a franchise-altering decision that has occurred with this franchise that wasn't a positive. Like drafting Tatum and Brown, franchise-altering positives.
Yep.
Right? So he's new to this as well, and he came from a place like Butler that was a small university. He brought it up to national prominence with Gordon Hayward, got to the national championship game. There's a lot of positives in there. So he's kind of... Now, he has a lot more experience in that and navigating those circumstances than, say, a Bill Chisholm, who's, only been in his second year of owning the team. But still, you are right about that. It's like, how is he going to manage it now when it's a little bit negative thing? And we had a little bit of this when we saw Tony Maserati. He went down and asked Brad Stevens point blank about the 3-pointers. I don't know. Do we have that, Garvin?
Brad, do you ever feel like you shoot too many threes?
The bad ones. Yeah.
It was a long pause in the beginning.
Very long pause.
It's a long pause. And that wasn't like...
Long pause with a joke, like kind of a funny, don't really have an answer, so I'll try to distract you here kind of answer.
Well, part of the issue I have with how a lot of these questions, and it's interviews in general, it's like there's this nervousness, like almost you answer the question within the question that you're asking. So for Maz to just go, do you think you shoot too many threes?
Right.
Now it's on you. Now
kind of a yes or no.
I'm not bailing you out of this. So again, I think how these questions are going to be asked is very important. And there's so much. One of the first things in the Athletic piece was that this was not a financially driven move.
Right.
Bill, can you confirm this was not a financially driven move?
And Jake, you bring up a great point. I was kind of just including his tenure with the Boston Celtics. But if you go back further, Brad Stevens has been a darling or living a honeymoon period for a long time now.
And he's earned that because he's done really well.
Absolutely. Smart guy, good moves.
I'm not trying to knock him for that.
Nope, right decisions. But even smart people do dumb things, right, in all walks of life. Or even
forced into it.
Great executives. Right, there could be some... But if you can get him to go down that road, that would be really interesting. Very interesting. But, Bill Belichick had a nice run of, everything he did... Jamie Collins, we question it. Adam Vinatieri, we question it. Whatever. We question. We wrong. He right. They in the Super Bowl. They good. Oh, that took a little turn. How's that Mohamed Sanu working out? Oh, Antonio Brown, that didn't work out. They go down roads where whatever. Jimmy Garoppolo, any move you want to say he made that was a bad move. And Brad Stevens hasn't had to deal with that. And that's a great example, Jake, that you brought up here that Maz asked him a semi-difficult question, I guess.
Brad, do you ever feel like you shoot too many threes?
The bad ones.
So also, what are the bad ones in that? Like that to me, I didn't understand because I'm looking at it right now at NBA's advanced stats. So if you look at closest defender for 3-pointers attempted.
Did you say you weren't an analytics
No,
guy?
but this is like it's their advanced stats page, but it's
Using
like
their
a normal.
tools
It's a
against
normal stat. It's not really an advanced stat.
Okay.
I'll explain it. They track. There's all this tracking in the NBA about like closest defender.
Yes.
So how far a defender is.
Wide
to the
open
shooter,
threes,
right?
not wide
so
open.
So they categorize it as these categories: 0 to 2 feet, very tight; 2 to 4 feet, which is tight; 4 to 6 feet, open; and 6 feet or more is wide open. The Celtics attempted the second most open 3-pointers, 4 to 6 feet from the closest defender. And if we look at the wide open ones as well, Celtics rank, and I'm doing this on the fly, they're about middle of the league-ish.
So a lot of open or wide open
A lot of
threes?
open threes. And if we go, I'm just going to do the tight one. I'm doing this on the air. Celtics were 5th for 2 to 4 feet, and for the really tight ones, they were 3rd. So there's just a lot of threes that they've taken that can be tight, but also when you look at the 4 to 6 feet, they took the second most. 1,400 3-pointers in the entire
those are-
regular season that were open.
Unless he's just trying to make a joke about the good ones are the ones that go in and the bad ones are the ones that don't go in.
I can remember and again, it's what would the analytics say? This is burned into my memory. Game 7, I can't remember who took the first shot, but I think the Celtics were down and it was a miss, and the ball rebounded straight back to Derek White. He was at the top of the key at the 3-point line, wide open to the point where had he just driven to the basket, he has an easy layup, and you see him, like his body, he steps in and he stops, almost like he got like tased or something. Like somebody shocked him for going, no, what are you doing? You see that line? You never cross that line. And he kind of had this weird hitch in his shot, and he put a 3 up and he missed that. Is that a good 3 or a bad 3? Because you have a wide open, yes, I understand efficiency, but you can get 2 points easy, or you can take what would be considered an open 3-pointer, but I feel like a lot of this stuff takes out the context. Like in this instance, you needed points, you needed to get back into this game, and instead you're just putting up, what I guess they would say is a quality shot, I guess, because he's open, but in the moment of that game, that was the wrong thing to do.
Right, and they've done that a lot. That Knicks series, when you have large leads, it's
they went 8 minutes in game 3 without scoring. And that's how the Knicks were able to come back.
Shot clock, game situation. It's not just, am I open? Is it right for me to do this now, even though I am open? But that is a great example you bring up, Jake, of a little teeny bit of heat there or angst in the question and long pause and not real sure how to answer.
So going off that, define to me what the bad 3-pointers are, because 1,400 of your 3-pointers attempted were categorized as open by the NBA's advanced stats metric. And if you look at their 3-point percentage, the Bucks were first in that category at 39.5% from deep. Celtics were, the NBA, they don't list the number, so I'm kind of counting on the fly. It looks like it's about top 10, 34.4%. So about a 5% difference between the Bucks, who shot 1,284, and the Celtics, who shot 1,400. And this is why I think also Joe Mazzulla gets aggravated when people ask him about, you shot the 3 ball so bad tonight, because he's looking at the overall season and saying, well, yeah, but look at the open threes we're getting 1,400 threes that are categorized as open. Mm-hmm. Those should go in. We should make those. But, which is great, and it's a solid measurement to go off of. I get where he's coming from. If that's where he's coming from, I understand the logic. But when you're not hitting them all in a row and it's the fourth quarter and you need a bucket, don't go to the basket. Get to the free throw line. Like this is basketball 101. Get to the free throw line, get yourself back in rhythm, and then the confidence builds and you can start hitting those 3-pointers again. But when you're just saying it's going to go back to the mean and we're going to be fine, well, it doesn't always work out like that.
Right. It's like, the stock market. Over time, you'll be fine. But if you were the guy about to retire before the 07 bubble burst, you're like, everybody else says you're going to be fine. What about me? I'm retiring tomorrow. I kind of need that money. I can't lose 40% of my retirement fund overnight.
The mindset is, I think, going to be very interesting. It's going to be very telling going forward. I think that they look at what they do within their organization and go, we're making the right moves here because this is what the data shows. But then you could easily spin it and go, your methodology has cost you playoff rounds. You can't argue that you took too many threes against the Knicks 2 years ago, and it's a direct correlation as to why you lost that series. It is now turned into this almost like process over product mentality of, we're not getting the results here, but the steps we're taking to get to those results, that's what's more important to us. And as a sports fan of 30-something years now, I can't sit through that. I can't sit. Kenny Atkinson had the same thing where it's like, well, we should be up. Well, you're not, because ultimately the most important metric is the scoreboard. It's your wins and losses. So if you're losing games, but they're going, well, we're really making great decisions here, and we're going to have 1,400 threes, and who cares if we miss 1,300 of them because we're taking good shots. And eventually maybe the next 1,400 will start to go in. But in the meantime, you're costing yourself. The Celtics have cost themselves arguably championships with this mentality. And now we're going to hear, in theory, Bill Chisholm and Brad Stevens, because I'd be shocked going back to how we started this segment. What are they going to say, and what do you want to hear? I don't know what I want to hear. I legitimately don't know. This is why I couldn't do public relations. I'm like, guys, you effed up. I don't know how you're going to, unless you're just honest with people. But I don't think that they're going to go to the money thing first. I'd be surprised if they said, the challenges of trying to, because you had a team. You saw that you were able to make it work. It's just luxury tax money at the end of the day. They can sit and cry that their 2032 draft pick is frozen, but ultimately you're a contender. Not like a championship contender, not like a 4 or a 5 seed. You actually had a team that was able to win a championship and possibly compete for more. So if they're not going to talk money, this has to be the pivot that they make, is what is our organization telling us to best utilize the tools that we have? Because also the thing that came out of that whole 3 points versus dunks thing was Brad kind of saying, I didn't do the best job of assembling this group. And it's kind of obvious. I shouldn't say obvious, but they did not have a great 3-point team, especially down the stretch compared to the teams that they have had in the past. So if you're going to wrap your arms around this whole idea that we're going to take a ton of threes because it's what the models tell us, then you have to bang out your team with a bunch of guys who you need 5 more Sam Hausers. You need guys like that. You just need your spot up guys as Tatum drives and dishes and keep throwing up threes from there.
617-779-0985. We're talking about the press conference tomorrow. We started with what they might say. Now I'm going to challenge us all because, Garvin, you just brought it up. What would you tell them to say to make you feel better? To make we're all in a little weird position here. We don't know why this happened. We don't know how good we feel about the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, whatever it may be. How would you advise Brad Stevens and Bill Chisholm tomorrow at their press conference to make you, the fan, the listener, the media member, feel better? That's next here on a Sunday morning on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
On Monday at 4 o'clock, we're being told to answer for a controversial situation in their business, in their corporation. What do you tell Bill Chisholm and Brad Stevens that their one or two talking points should be that they should say to make Ryan Garvin, the fan and the media member, feel better?
I think, oh man, this is, as I said, I struggle to think of, all right, if I can't be honest, and again, I think that this is all purely financially driven. So how do I explain this to Celtics fans that, 5 days ago, everybody wanted to trade Jaylen Brown, and then 4 days ago, they trade Jaylen Brown, and now everybody's mad at me. Okay, so that's the fan base I am dealing with. You wanted him gone, I move him, and he's gone, and now you're mad at me. Okay, so I am going to tell Brad and Bill, I think this is going to suck. I'm going to put that out there right away. Like,
that's what you're leading with? This is going to suck?
This is going to be bad.
Might want to workshop
No.
it.
I have to be.
This is going to be painful.
Bill,
it's going to be like a root canal without Novocaine.
Bill, you're a very wealthy man. You're no dummy. Brad, you've been here for a long time. You've seen other teams go through this. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This will probably be one of the toughest press conferences that you are going to have to sit through, assuming, the reporters do their jobs. This is going to be very difficult. So my first piece of advice would be focus on the positives of Jaylen Brown, specifically Jaylen Brown. You don't need to bring in Tatum. You don't need to bring in teammates or anything. Talk about watching him grow up. Talk about his work ethic. Just overload all the amazing things that how he exemplified being a Celtic. He made my job so easy. It was a personal joy to watch him grow here from the time that we drafted him. And hey, I remember, remember everybody booed. Let's laugh about that. And so I would definitely try to keep it very light, very positive when talking about Jaylen Brown. And then ultimately, when you start to get those questions about, was this financially motivated? Was this analytics motivated? Is there a rift between the coach and the player? Is there a rift between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Those latter questions, I'd say, look, I would not want to speak for anybody, but from my, vantage point up here at the top of the Auerbach Center, I never sensed any discourse between those guys. Even if you did, you lie about it. But then ultimately, you never get too specific. You try to, at the time, it's like we're trying to rebuild. I think you kind of outlined it, Andy, the new you can throw back on the CBA. The new CBA has kind of made it a bit of a challenge in order to keep championship rosters together. And I think if you kind of just leave it at that, depends on how many follow-ups people get. But I think if you can avoid the real hot button issues of Colin Cowherd saying that his intelligence was a disease, or that he was a headache, or that he went off script, or he acted like he was the smartest person in the room. I don't think that is going to really you're not going to comport yourself very well as Celtics fans the first time you have an opportunity to talk about it. So I would say my two pieces of advice to kind of summarize: keep it very light and positive when talking about Jaylen Brown. Don't get too specific when asked about other players or coaches and relationships. Don't speak for other people. That was a big Bill Belichick thing. You'd have to talk to that person. Never speak for somebody else. And just try to keep it generic. So that's why I led with, hey, this is not going to be fun. You're probably not going to look any better. I'll say this. You're not going to look better coming out of this. Do whatever you can to not make yourself look worse.
The one thing that they need to do, I don't actually care what they say. I want answers to what we're all asking, obviously. That's the best case scenario for everything. Be honest. If it's a money decision, come out and say it. If it was, we didn't agree with Jaylen Brown streaming, we had problems with him going off and airing out whatever.
No chance they say that.
Be honest. No, but this is the only way that you can, I don't want to say save face, but that you can earn back people's trust or appreciation for the Celtics and what they are, and kind of smooth things over. Because if you come out and lie and just give the typical, oh, Jaylen Brown was a great player and we valued him so much and we love JB and he's this and this and this, people are going to see right through that. So be honest and just say how it went down. That's the only thing you do. And if it makes you look bad, maybe it looks bad for the next week, but I think fans are going to take it a lot better if they're flat out honest about it and not just lie and dance around the fact that they moved off a franchise superstar. So,
Garvin, I think your first part of yours is dead on. Absolutely buff up Jaylen Brown. Absolutely. All good things, as Olaf would say about Jaylen Brown. And I think they will absolutely do that. I think, Jake, your plan, no shot in them being honest.
I would love for them to tell
I'd love it too. No shot. No shot that they're honest about whatever they feel about the streams and various, nothing. And then the second part is I think you stick to very simple. We are absolutely focused on winning the next championship for the Boston Celtics, but we all know that this is a new age of NBA basketball and team building. Hell, we've even seen it in recent years with us, the various teams we've put together and then had to reconfigure on an annual basis. And we are in the midst of another one of those, unfortunately. We have to work with the parameters of the NBA, of the CBA, but I think you emphasize over and over, and I think Chisholm definitely will do this. This I don't even think will be. He is going to, I am focused and nothing has changed. Our focus is on putting another banner up at the Garden or whatever building they're in at that point when it does go up. But I think you focus on, you keep hitting that home, because if you say it often enough, people will be like, yeah, I mean, I don't really believe him, and then you start believing him just because, like, you kind of get brainwashed. He said they're focused on winning, even if the details of the moment would say, how are you focused on winning when you traded an all-NBA, all-star, pillar-type player? That's where you tweak in a little bit of that CBA talk. I think that would be the balance if it were me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely a good way to approach it. I just think that no matter what way you approach it and whatever talking points you want to have, they all need to be rooted in one thing, and that's honesty. Because that's the only way that you're going to get fans. Like, do you think I know it was the holiday, so maybe it didn't happen, but you think the ticket reps were busy dealing with season ticket holders calling in?
I'd imagine.
I don't know if I want to pay $20,000 for season tickets this year because you just traded away Jaylen Brown and don't want to support that.
Okay,
I think they might have had a busy day.
Oh, I'm sure there were some.
And they're coming back to a busy
emails, voicemails, absolutely.
So to those fans, and those are we call it in radio, right? Like your P1s, right? Those are your P1 fans.
Yep.
Don't you want to get them back and make sure you don't lose their season ticket prices?
Well, and I think that's where you have to sort of work that gap year idea. You don't want to tell them it's a gap year.
They're going to say, because Bill Chisholm kind of alluded to it when he first joined the team or bought the team. It was a lot of like short-term, long-term, where we want to win. It's important. I'm from here. I'm Bill Chisholm. I'm from here. I grew up here. And it's important that we're able to win championships, but we want to make sure we're doing it the right way.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we're going to be competitive in the short term and in the long term. So basically what you're saying is like, we're not going to start throwing money at this in the immediate, even though it's kind of shown that you can win a lot of championships doing that, but then also couching it by going, well, we want to make sure that we're financially responsible here going forward.
Yeah, a gap year is a bridge year. I don't know when we changed the word. Red Sox, it was a bridge year. For the Celtics, it became a gap year. I prefer bridge year. You don't ever want to talk about the bridge. You want to talk about where the bridge is going, if I'm Bill Chisholm. Well, the bridge to your season ticket holder, Jake, is we're going to be great. We're going to be the most entertaining team in the NBA. You're going to want to be in that building. If you give up your tickets now, I'm just telling you, you might be hard to get back on the train, right? When the gravy train is rolling, baby. So stick with us. We're going to be great. We're chasing a championship.
So to the bridge point, the bridge basically says there is an endpoint to this. There is a method to the madness.
A championship, a banner.
Does a gap have that same meaning by definition?
Yeah, I never,
like it's just a gap.
Yes. It's like Mind the Gap, the whole thing with the tube in England or whatever. Like,
because you'll fall in if you don't.
No, I don't. But I shouldn't be focused on the gap. I should be focused on the train I'm getting on, right? Similar thing. Like, why am I focused on the gap? If it's a bridge, it's to where do bridges go? Nice places, right? Bridge on the Cape. You go to the Cape. Why are you crossing that bridge? Because I want to go to the beach and get ice cream and have fun.
The gap is just a gap.
Yeah, and how big's the gap?
Is it a black hole? Is it just sucking everything in, destroying it?
If it's the little teeny gap in the elevator we're all going to cross to go down from this studio, that's fine. But if I have to leap across to get to that elevator, I'm like, I don't know if this is worth this. I'm afraid of heights. I could die. I could fall to my death, and no one will ever find me in this elevator shaft.
The honesty aspect that Jake brought up, it's going to be very, very interesting.
He's so young and naive, by the way.
No, well,
it's not even me. It's just saying
in
that
this business,
That's what you need to do to get the fans who want to cancel the season tickets and not go to games and don't want to buy another jersey. Because what if this happened to Jaylen Brown? Who's to say next year Tatum's not in the chopping block for the same exact reason? If it is money, if it is a money thing,
well, he's the only one left.
So those fans, you're going to go buy another Jason Tatum limited edition Celtics City Edition jersey this year, not knowing it for a definitive possibility that he's going to be on the roster next year. Those fans, the way that you win those fans back is by winning basketball games and being honest. That's the bottom line. I don't care what is in any sport. You be honest, you win games. And maybe that honesty point, you can be deceiving or maybe even get some stuff and beat it around and dance around the subject when you win and you're winning championships. The Celtics the last 2 years, they don't have that luxury.
Nope.
You lost that when you sent players out the door. You lose in the second round and blow a 3-1 series lead to the 76ers, your rivals, who, by the way, you just traded your franchise superstar to.
I mean, last year's the perfect example. Why did you not have to answer so many questions about Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford? Because you won more than people expected. You were the 2 seed in the East. You overachieved with Jaylen Brown leading the way, I'd like to point out. But that season could go very differently, right? They started 0-3.
Yeah,
if you keep going down that road, there's a lot more questions of what exactly are we doing here in Boston? Why did we get rid of 3 of our top 5 rotations?
Absolutely.
But you didn't have to answer it. Why? Because more nights than not, you won the basketball game. You were scoring a lot of points. You were a fun team. You were an entertaining product. The Garden was hopping. People were happy that they paid their $20,000 for the gap year season tickets to the Garden. So yeah, the end game is win basketball games. But I don't know how good you are to win basketball games.
Hi, Ryan Garvin, 98.5.
Hey, how are you?
A question for Bill and Brad. Brad, do you believe that you are a better team going into this year than you were going into last year?
Yes, I do. I think the return of Jason Tatum really strengthens our lineup. We got a big now that can help us do some things in the paint. You saw the explosion of Nemish Queta last year. I think he's become a real big part of our game. Derek White, I think, is shown himself the core star player that
I am the PR person. I'm having a heart attack right now. You're a better team going into this season than last year.
I think you can actually make that argument, though. Because if you believe Tatum is that much better than Brown and you added a big, you can make. Now, are you better than you? The question is, are you better than you would have been if you'd kept Jaylen Brown with Jason Tatum?
That's my follow-up.
Brad, you want to handle that one? That's what I would say if I was
thinking,
Bill.
though, you mentioned Derek White in your, what would be the opening statement to the question or whatever. So if Jaylen Brown was forced out or you wanted to move off him because of streaming, the way he talked about certain things, went off the script from the Athletic reports.
Yeah.
Well, Derek White, he has a podcast.
He does.
Oh, White Noise, right? That's the name of the podcast? White Noise Podcast?
Yeah.
So is that a problem? Or is that okay because it's Derek White?
That's White Noise.
Yeah.
It's literally called White Noise.
No, but
how could that be a problem?
If you're Jaylen Brown, that's another thing that could aggravate you. Is that it's okay for him to do it, but when I do it, I get in trouble?
You know why? Because he's Tatum's boy. You've convinced me. The most important thing you said in the first hour of the show is that, you know how Larry Lucchino runs the Boston Red Sox? Jason Tatum runs the Boston Celtics. That's what you convinced me. He's got his running mates, his coach, his power, and if you get in his way, you don't make the Olympic team, and then we trade your ass out of town.
I don't want to say that as a definitive 110% fact, but the things on the roster right now, the players, the coaches, the everything about it.
Yeah.
You look at it and you say, there's a lot of things that make you believe that this is Jason Tatum's team and this is his organization.
All right, halfway through, 2 hours down, 2 hours to go here on a Sunday. Andy Hart and Jake Seymour, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We had a lot to get to. We're going to dig into that because I have real questions about the Tatum-led Boston Celtics. And we can get into whether he's the GM or the president of basketball operations, but he is the centerpiece of this team. He's the face. He's the spokesman. He's the be-all, end-all. How does he handle that? How does he handle the tough questions? Does he run and hide after a bad shooting performance, bad loss, if they're losing some games? Because Jaylen Brown did it all early last season, right? He was the guy that talked his way through the transition. He was the guy that loved working with young players. He was the guy that learned players' zodiac signs and makeup and numerology to lead the Boston Celtics the best way he could. How does Jason Tatum do that? I also want to get back to something Jake said earlier. Where does this trade rank for the Boston Celtics and Boston sports? Obviously, it's not Babe Ruth. I'm the biggest JB fan there is. I'm not going to compare him to Babe Ruth. This is a pretty bad trade, and I do want to compare it to the Mookie Betts deal, and I think, Jake, you and I may disagree on the comparison between this trade because I have some interesting thoughts on that. All that and more next here with your phone calls, 617-779-0985. It's Sunday. It's the Sports Hub. It's Hart. It is Seymour.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
it's not.
I go to New Hampshire.
So I was gonna ask, like, do you have like a favorite type of firework? Like, is there one that like I got to make sure every 4th of July I have this kind or this type of firework?
So it's funny that became kind of a debate last night in New Hampshire, where I was obviously.
Live free or die, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple issues. If you buy a lot of fireworks, you realize they're all kind of the same. I think this is Garvin's area, but like you go to those stores. They're all these, I think they're like 500-gram boxes or whatever they call them, multi-shooters, 40-shot, whatever. And there's just grand finale, King Kong Butler. Like, they all have these names. And are they slightly different? Yes. Do they have, but there's
very brightly colored labeling, too.
Yes. And
something that like a kid would enjoy.
Or a 40-something-year-old man.
That too.
Who's young at heart. But like, then like you try to remember him for the next year and like that one was awesome, the grand, and then you go back to the store and there's nothing named that and you're like, where did it go? And it's like they change the name year over year because they're just pumping out these boxes from China or wherever, they're mostly coming from China, I think. But we also got into the debate because we love the boxes have made it so easy. And that's what I'm going to refer to them. I don't know what the technical term is, but it's, it's this big, a foot by a foot, and you light one fuse and like 50 things blow up over the course of the next 45 seconds. Super easy, super fun. Crowd loves them. I like the mortars, I call them, like the tubes that you actually drop the big ball in with a long fuse and you light it and then run like hell to make sure it doesn't shoot you. And if you do those right and you line up like 6 of the tubes and you get 6 people with lighters, because we're kind of old school. I know new people will be like, oh, if you go buy the fuses, you can fuse them all together. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to have a guy with a lighter. But you like those. Those are like legit fireworks. They make that like mortar sound coming out of the poof, that deep, and then you're like waiting and it goes way the hell in the air and then they all boom in the sky like professional. I kind of like those, but apparently the younger generation was complaining at my house in New Hampshire last night about too many mortars. They just like the boxes now. So you young kids, it's typical. You young kids want it like simple, easy, clean, no mess. So
I don't mind fireworks.
You don't like them either?
No,
I'm
like,
surrounded by un-American people.
No,
John Adams said you have to illuminate the sky to celebrate the 4th of July and our independence, and you commies don't like fireworks.
No, it's not that I don't like fireworks. It gets a little excessive sometimes. Like, I live in a neighborhood where there's sometimes lots of fireworks going off.
You live in New Hampshire, too?
Yeah. There's a lot of fireworks going off, and you can't see them, so you just hear them. The dog's going crazy. I'm like, all right, guys, like, do we need to keep this going? The town did their fireworks a few days earlier. Like, I understand it's the 4th. I'm not trying to be anti-American or anti-American. I'm not trying to do that at all. But just sometimes it gets to a point where it's like, all right, guys, have we had enough fun lighting off the things that go big and boom and make all the noise? Like, I don't know. But
you're anti-fun.
Where I was going with this too is, did you watch the Boston Pops last night? Are you a Boston Pops family?
No.
Okay, so
I said fun, not pops.
We used to go watch fireworks and come home, and the Boston Pops would be on. And my favorite thing since I was a little kid was the 1812 Overture.
Okay.
And watching the Boston Pops do it, they have the red firework that goes off in the middle.
Oh, so those
American
fireworks are okay.
Drops. Well, yeah, but it's also the music too. Like I like that. The best part about the 1812 Overture is the cannons.
Yeah.
They go to the cans, and the cans are going off, and the military men and women are on there. They're loading them up. Fantastic. One of my favorite parts about the 4th of July.
So that boom you like?
No, but this is where I'm going with it. It went too far last night. We had a drone show at the Boston Pops, and it looked nice. It was very cool. But then I realized halfway through, wait. The cannons are off. They didn't line up the cannons with the 1812 Overture, it sounded like, at least on the simulcast. I'm not going down there. I wanted to watch it on TV. And it felt like it was cutting weird. It wasn't going right to it. I was seeing more of the drone show than the cannons and the 1812 Overture. And I was like, no. This has gone too far. So there's 2 types of people. You have the fireworks people, and now I guess the drone people.
Yeah, I know.
I would rather fall in the fireworks thing, because the fireworks would happen at the end of the Boston Pops, and I could enjoy the 1812 Overture like I always have since I was a little kid. And that was just something that got underneath my skin.
So the drones are ruining the
well, they just
experience.
They did the drones too early with the 1812 Overture. So the cameras were going to that, and I felt like the cannons weren't lined up and in sync with
up
how
properly.
Like how they were supposed to be.
I'm not big on the drones. Like, I look at those and go, yeah, that's cool.
They're
but
cool.
It doesn't resonate with me enough.
Well, the technical, like, the fact that we can program a drones to do that, I think is cool.
Yeah, it is. But great, you got a laptop, you got AI, you got some drones. Okay, you put on a show, whatever.
I was a little upset though with.
I can tell.
How that went, yeah. I was so bad. I almost thought about YouTubing a few years ago just to watch it and get the.
Wow, you just turned old overnight. I'm gonna go back to when the show was a show before all these drones took over.
Jake, I'd forgotten because it's been a while since Andy and I have worked together. I forgot what a meathead he can be sometimes because the second you said Boston Pops, you went as if to say that your enjoyment out of something which unarguably requires way more skill and finesse to put together. The Boston Pop synchronized with fireworks is like this inferior product to you and all the other drunk dads in the neighborhood lighting off boxes, literal boxes. You're like, oh, no. We couched it, though, because we don't want to, like, tie fuses together. But to sit and look down on Jake's enjoyment of the 4th of July as you're, like, firing off mortars and low-grades explosives is ridiculous. Come on.
But I was being a good American. John Adams, right? John Adams, what did he like? Fire, booms, and beer. What did I have yesterday? Fire, booms, and beer.
I think we're all lockstep. Like drones that's just not. I don't feel like that's a fair representation of all the things that you and John Adams are so hot on.
Exactly. And they might have their place in modern celebratory sky-based entertainment or whatever, but 4th of July, let's keep it simple. Let's stick to your roots. And obviously, I can appreciate the pops. They're not really
There's
for
even
me.
tone there.
Yeah, you're right.
I can appreciate. No, you want to float listening to Lee Greenwood and lighting off M80s.
Wait, you just reminded me, though. So I start the day on 4th of July, and this turned into a 4th of July segment, which I enjoy.
Sure.
Start the day at a parade. Westport, Massachusetts. It's before I leave for New Hampshire for the fireworks later in the day. And it was a little bigger than normal. It's earmuffs if you live in Westport. It's a little bit of a hick parade. It is what it is. But, tractors,
it's
fire
like their
engines.
day, though.
Very simple.
I'm saying just like towns like that.
Yes.
Because I've been caught in that traffic. I'm like, the parade is bigger than the town population.
Absolutely. And it was great, but they just throw candy, and they usually throw kind of like the cheap bagged candy like Dum-Dums, Tootsie Rolls, whatever.
All the things you get at the feed store.
So they upgraded the candy. So not only was there like Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, No. Even more. They were throwing out in tinfoil little baggy packages, hot dogs.
Oh, I'm out on that.
Hot dogs.
No way.
From a parade float.
No.
What?
No.
What's more American than hot
How
dogs?
long are those hot dogs? How long were those cooked for?
I don't know. They were in like the little the little tinfoil things that they put them in to
I'm
make
not a
them
big
look
hot dog guy. Like I was doing the grill last night.
You don't like fireworks and you don't like hot dogs?
No, I didn't say I didn't like
Also for
fireworks. I
kids.
just said that sometimes people go a litlittle bit overboard with them. That's all.
Oh, I agree. I don't need 67 like Joey Chestnut, but a couple hot dogs is American.
No, I meant the fireworks. People go overboard with the fireworks.
Oh, okay.
The hot dogs, I will say, I was doing the grill. I was grilling last night, had steaks, sausages, and we had put some hot dogs on because we had to have the hot dogs 4th of July. I had 2 hot dogs and went, okay, I'm good for the next year. I don't need another hot dog until the 4th
You
of
won't
July.
eat another hot dog for a full 365
Absolutely not.
days?
No.
It's a painfully overrated meat product.
What?
It's all
Like
the
when you go to a
crap.
game?
That's why kids eat it.
Yeah, but they're good.
No, but those are different hot dogs. Ballpark hot dogs and 4th of July hot dogs, very, very different.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I haven't been to Fenway Park since I was senior in high school, maybe. So 5 years ago at this point. 6
Congrats,
years ago
by
at
the
this
way.
point. No, not really a lot of
Kind of
reasons to go
stinks.
down
The
to
team
Fenway.
kind of stinks. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Not really a lot of reasons to head down to Fenway. But, so I haven't had a Fenway Frank or a ballpark hot dog. I guess I think the last time I went to a ball game, I think I was in Arizona. I saw Shohei Ohtani play the Diamondbacks. That was pretty cool. And they actually had a good deal. You could get, I think it was 2 beers and 2 hot dogs for $10.
It's a great deal.
awesome.
Sam Kennedy
Yeah.
just fainted somewhere.
Fenway, that's $40 that you just gave out for the...
Leaving money on the table.
Wow. I just learned so much about you on this Sunday morning. Hot dogs, meh. Hate fireworks. Love the orchestra. Hate drones.
I don't hate fireworks.
The engineer that was syncing up the audio for whatever station you're watching, you're not a fan of.
Good job.
Well, whatever it was. I didn't feel like it was a production issue. Maybe just, I don't know, like the cameras definitely were not cutting appropriately, but like I don't know if the cannons were firing at the right times either. It just didn't sound, didn't feel right.
I probably would not have
unpatriotic.
noticed. The novice that is me, I probably would not have noticed. I'd be like, oh, that's cool.
Wait, can we go back to blowing crap up?
Absolutely. Light the cannon again. Okay, up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, we get back to some sports talk. I teased it. We didn't get to it. The trade that everyone is talking about. Where does it rank? You know, I heard Paul Perillo kind of divvying this up on Friday when he was on with Sean Silver in the afternoon. I think Jake has an opinion on this that I am going to rebut quite dramatically next here. The Jaylen Brown trade, just how bad was it? Was it historically bad? We'll get to that next and your phone call, 617-779-0985. Andy Hart and Jake Seymour on a Sunday morning.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
comparisons lately. Obviously, if you're in Boston, sports, trades, sales, whatever you want to call it, Babe Ruth is at the top of the list. I don't know how you can, ever pass that. I feel like that one is on. I won't even say Mount Rushmore. It's above Mount Rushmore. It's on the mountain above Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, what if we get a
monument.
curse of the Jalen?
Yeah, 86 years till we get another banner. That would be something. But after that, you start talking about bad trades, and it seems like people tend to point to the Mookie Betts one. I would like to state the case that I think this is worse than the Mookie Betts trade, significantly worse, because the Mookie Betts trade, there was at least an argument that almost everybody could make immediately that you can't sign him. He's looking for $450 million. And if you remember at the time, I'm not going to look up the details, but there were all these CBT ramifications 3 years in a row. They were so it wasn't even going to be dollar for dollar. For them to pay Mookie Betts $400 million would actually cost them $600 million, whatever the details were. There was a clear and obvious financial limitation. He wasn't under contract, and he might not be under contract long term. You might not. Jaylen Brown's under contract for 3 more years. Jaylen Brown is a great player. You can argue Mookie Betts is a better player. But they're both championship-winning, MVP caliber players. But one you could lose for nothing because the contract was coming to an impasse, and it was Jaylen Brown was under contract for 3 years and wanted to be a Boston Celtic. By all accounts, Jake. No one is telling me he asked for a trade. Nowhere has it been reported. In fact, it's been reported definitively he did not ask for a trade. So I think trading a guy who had won for you, who was elite, who's in the prime of his career, who is under contract, is worse than the traditional, we're not going to be able to sign this guy, so we're going to dump this guy, Mookie Betts trade. And the other thing was, at least in the Mookie Betts trade, you got some scratch tickets. That's what I'd like to refer to young players as, right? Scratch tickets.
The scratchies.
You're hoping that it's going to hit. It's probably going in the garbage, but you're hoping you're going back to the lottery store and turning that in because you won $500 or $10,000. Did you get any scratch tickets in this? And don't give me the draft picks.
No, they didn't.
Okay, so there's no scratch tickets. Yeah. You got an old coot and
the draft picks as they are scratch tickets, but it's like buying the dollar scratch ticket and saying I'm going to win $10 million.
Right? Yeah, you're not. You might get $1. You might get $1 back. Get your money back. Okay, so I believe that the Jaylen Brown trade, if we're assessing it, what other options are out there as well? Beneath the Babe Ruth one, but in the same category stratosphere of Mookie Betts and Jaylen Brown. What are the other really bad trades out there?
Oh, that's a good one. I was going to say the only one that came up this week was when the Celtics moved off Perkins and he went to Oklahoma City.
Yep.
Oklahoma City had the run, and that kind of hurt Boston's runway with the big three, you could say. I just want to say quickly, I think the Mookie Betts trade is worse than the Jaylen Brown one, only because of the fact that the Red Sox in Major League Baseball, they don't have a salary cap.
Right.
So the owners just had to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So John Henry and Fenway Sports Group did not want to pay Mookie Betts, which is why he became a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. If they wanted him here, they would have paid him, and that would have been it. Mookie Betts wanted to be here. I know that maybe in the beginning there were some inklings that maybe how much did he really want to be here. He's come out and since said he did want to retire and thought he's going to be here for a long time. So all they had to do was pay the guy, and he signed a 12-year, $365 million contract, which now I know he's getting older and it's maybe few down years this year.
Yep.
But before this year, he's played really well, and that deal looks like a bargain compared to what players have gotten. And the Jaylen Brown trade, I know there's a salary cap, but you're only paying him $70 million a year on that extension. So, like, what?
You just say only $70 million a year.
Yeah, but in comparison,
Lord Almighty,
in comparison to what the totality of the Mookie Betts deal is, that's not it's half as much, right? So, outside of that, though, like those three in my lifetime, I struggle to find ones that really stick out as really bad trades that the teams have made. There haven't been a lot of them, I feel like, in the last 25 years.
I don't really think so.
Oh, that one hurt.
And
really
some of the ones that hurt were those unknown ones. Like, yes, trading Jeff Bagwell for Larry Anderson, terrible, but he wasn't Jeff Bagwell at the point. You weren't trading mid-career Hall of Fame caliber player. That's what you're doing here. I have a jersey. People have jerseys. People have posters. People are entrenched in their loyalties for Jaylen Brown, and you traded him. And I don't know if you guys heard the Draymond Green audio, totally poo-pooing this was a player-for-player trade. Don't, all respect to Paul George, but you're not on the same level anymore as prime of career Jaylen Brown. Draymond Green went all in on, there was a star in this trade and he went to Philly. A star did not come back to Boston. 617-779-0985. We got some guys on the phone line, Bob and Justin and others lining up that want to talk about ranking the Jaylen Brown trade and just how bad it was. Let's go to Justin and Lynn. What's up, Justin?
Hey, Danny. How nice to meet you. I'm Justin and Lynn.
Hey!
I just want to tell you guys, I wanted to tell you guys, I think this is the worst trade in Celtics history that they made based off what they got back from him, a 36-year-old guy, and I think this is the worst trade in Celtics history.
Thanks for the call, Justin. Yeah, I think it's easily the worst trade in Celtics history. I'm trying to think what the other worst trade. They're more known for the good trades, the snookering of others over the course of their history, whether it's to get Larry Bird or to get some of the key guys in the 80s run there, Red Auerbach and everything. Like, he was the one who was pulling the wool over others' eyes. Danny Ainge, obviously, pulling the wool over others' eyes.
So there's been a lot of change in the Celtics organization over the last 5 years, call it. Mm-hmm. And when you go back and look at how it's changed, because the Celtics have not been under one ownership for the totality of their existence, right? But the one person that was around for the majority of that was Red Auerbach, and he was still a part of the Celtics organization in some capacity, even up until he passed away.
Right.
And
except for that short stint where Rick Pitino asked him to leave.
Okay, sure, but for
egomaniac dink that he was,
for the most part, outside of those years, he was a part of the organization and had some kind of role, advisory, whatever the case may be. Wick Grousbeck and his ownership group, they handled, I thought, it well, it seems like. I mean, early 2000s, they had some success with Paul Pierce. Then they really got going in 2007 when Garnett and Allen, they both came to Boston. Right now, whatever happened, the bridge between the ownership change with Wick Grousbeck and Bill Chisholm, there's been some disconnect that it feels like the Celtics ecosystem has completely collapsed. And I say that because what other time in the Celtics history would this trade have happened? Like, could you imagine if the 80s they moved off McHale? That wouldn't have happened.
No, but I will say,
after they won with Garnett, if they decided to move off Garnett or Pierce after, or even Allen, like after they won it, that wouldn't have happened, all those years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is why I'm saying this trade, we talk about the Celtics fleecing another team usually, and it feels like the Celtics got fleeced in this trade. That's why the ecosystem to me is completely disrupted.
But there are some that are trying to paint this as this could be the springboard to the next era, that this is setting
Slingshot.
Yeah,
slingshot.
I don't know that that's true. In fact, I don't believe that to be true. But there are some that want you to believe that when you did send Garnett and Pierce to Brooklyn, this is sort of a similar thing. Like and it's stupid. I agree.
Yeah.
You give me a look like I said. I said some have said. I didn't say it. Some have said. When you don't want to say something, you say some had said. It's what you're doing.
Those were two aging superstars who you'd gotten the most out of them. They were on the wrong side of 30. They were going downhill. And the Brooklyn Nets, they wanted to win now. They were just moved to Brooklyn, I believe, at the time. Didn't
they have that Russian oligarch that
Mikhail
bought the
Prokhorov?
team? Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah, they also, they had some pieces over there that they thought they could compete and win in the moment.
Right.
And that's what they were trying to do. So it made sense that they went all in on that. The Celtics were trying to retool, rebuild, and it ended up being the best trade the Celtics could have made. They got Tatum and Brown off that. That's incredible.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Bob in Londonderry wants to talk about the spot Jason Tatum's in. What's up, Bob?
Hey, guys. Enjoy the show.
Thanks.
I, by all means, am nowhere near the expert on anything, and I never said I was the biggest Brown guy. Very good player. My point being two things. If you couldn't win with him, good or bad, I don't know what you're going to do without him. The trade, we'll see what comes. It sure doesn't look very good. But I'm really amazed how we give the other guy, Jason Tatum. I did not say he's not good or any of that, but you've got him in this Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird classification where everyone's assuming he is simply the whatever it is, and I don't see him in that even when he's on. I've watched him miss a lot of times where we needed it. Wasn't always overly crucial, and he's got his ankle fixed, whatever. Let's see how that goes this year, because he looks like one of these guys that the littlest thing is wrong, that's it. He's not going to be on he just isn't going to be what you would think. And you're putting an awful lot on him. I'm not sure this is going to go well at all.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I did want to get into that, and we'll get into that next. I want to get into this Jason Tatum thing. This Jason Tatum Gatto Green, I've started calling him. Because I think the day he arrived, he was not booed like Jaylen Brown. He was anointed. He was anointed the next Paul Pierce, the next Kobe, the next whatever you want. And in the totality of his career, right up until today, when I learned from Jake Seymour that Jason Tatum runs the Boston Celtics. He's essentially the PR guy, the GM, the president of basketball. He picks the coaches. He picks the teammates. He picks whether the media can go to his charity events and ask questions. He does it all. He's the be-all, do-all of the Boston Celtics. Well, he kind of is the be-all, do-all of the Boston Celtics now because for the totality of his career, he had Robin right by his side in the Batmobile, and now that seat is empty next to him for the Boston Celtics. So is Jason Tatum. Maybe he got what he wanted. If Jake's right, he got what he wanted. He's pulling the strings behind the scenes, got what he wanted. Is he ready to act upon what he wanted? We'll continue your phone call, 617-779-0985. Andy Hart, Jake Seymour on a Sunday here on 98.5.
Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Lot of excitement about the World Cup. Jake, we have some breaking news about the U.S.'s matchup with Belgium and who will or will not be available?
Yes, we do have some breaking news on that. So Florian Balogun, after getting a red card in Team USA's last match, will now be able to play against Belgium. Sources told The Athletic, reading from The Athletic's website. He got the 1-game suspension because he got the red card in that game, but now he's going to be able to play in the round of 16 against Belgium. That's a massive deal for Team USA.
And
best player.
Correct. It's the right. I don't know the rules. I know, it's automatic. It's this, it's that. This is the right move because he got screwed. It was a terrible video review decision that he earned the red card by. He was playing the ball. It happened. Bad stuff happens when athletes move quickly and aggressively and things of that nature. I think this is huge. The little I know about U.S. men's national team and soccer and getting to the round of 16 and all that, he's pretty good. And they could
needed
use him. Yeah, they
really
could use
needed him.
He puts the ball in the back of the net, and that seems to be very key in that sport where you only need one of those and you advance to the next round. This is big news. I'm excited about this.
You're absolutely, if you're the national team, way better off with him than without him. And I'm just kind of reading through this article, and it doesn't seem like, because I'm also learning about this and
real time, basically.
Pretty much. I mean, I've had a blast watching the World Cup, and I'm definitely much more into it than I expected I would be. But one of the things that I think is a very interesting aspect of how soccer is, how they penalize players. I think the severity of a red card should be just that. It should be for the things that are we have flagrant twos in basketball or game misconducts in hockey. These are the things that it's not even close to resemble. It's an action that does not resemble what happens in our game. And tripping a guy with your feet in a game where you can only touch the ball with your feet feels fairly common, to the point where I've seen similar plays where maybe it rises to the level of a yellow card, or at the very least a referee will give you a stern kind of, hey, I'm watching you now, and you're definitely going too hard when trying to get the ball off the guy, or tackle, whatever you call it.
Trying to get the ball off the guy.
Yeah, tackle. They call it a tackle. It doesn't look like you can tackle, so I'm going to go with my...
Our World Cup expert, Ryan Garvin.
That's me. But the thing I was really interested in is, so that's just it. We're not going to review this. We're not going to... the whole reason that Luka Doncic got all NBA eligibility and awards was... They reviewed, he had a technical, and he got suspended, and then he was able to play. So that just meant that there was one less game that he would have to miss before they changed the rules for him. Same thing. Do you go back and look and go, oh, well, this is kind of silly, isn't it? He tripped him with his feet. They played with their feet. Why are we going to have this guy miss half of one game and then the entirety of another game? I don't have a problem with suspending a player. If you did something that is way beyond what you should be doing on the pitch, more soccer parlance for you, Andy, then yeah, I get it. I totally understand that. Yeah, you should probably sit this one out. These rosters have 50 guys on them anyways. Throw one of them in. But the idea that for something like that, and it's such a significant player, that they wouldn't turn around and go, maybe we should take a second look at it, which seems like that has happened.
Oh yeah, it's shady as you know what. Except I love it. I love it. And obviously, I'm rooting for USA, but I think they very much do what we think a lot of leagues do, and look at matchups and popularity and attention and TV. And the host country, or one of the host countries, the USA, going to drive the North American TV ratings to some degree. Their best player, or one of the best players, having him play. I mean, we saw it the other night. I thought it was shady as F the other night in the Croatia matchup. Croatia ties it late, and they review it, and the offsides and the camera angles. And I'm not saying it was totally fabricated, but it was tough to tell whether the ball touched the guy's head on the way through. And they're like, you know what? We're going to take that goal off the board. And then they show the bracket, and they're like, if Portugal holds on, they face Spain on this. And I'm like, oh, they obviously want Portugal versus Spain this week. So I think they are. And again, it's another one of these where all the modern sports are going to it. There's a ref with a headset on with a guy talking in his ear who maybe the, president of FIFA telling him exactly what he needs to do to make this work for the betterment of the billions of dollars they are trying to rake in. All that being said, thank you. This is the right thing to do, because the closest thing I can think of in sports to this is the targeting rule in college football, where you see a safety and it's like, it's really, and they kick him out and it's the second half, so he also has to miss next week, and you're like, he's trying to play football. His job is to hit the big tight end across the middle. Okay, maybe his head made contact with his chin or crown or whatever, but you're going to make him sit out the next game too. That's what this was. It just totally not worth it. So I think that's good news. I think that's good news for Seattle tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I think, against Belgium. So we can all tune in and see a full squad of Americans.
That's good. That's really big.
Score one goal over 90
Americans.
plus minutes of action. That was my snarky.
It's like a lot of NBA superstars don't tend to pick up 2 fouls in the first quarter, despite committing 2 fouls in the first quarter.
And I'm kind of fine with it. Like, I always go back to it's entertainment. And if it make it more entertaining for me, like, don't go so crazy where you're fixing games and scripting things like the WWE or whatever. But if you have ways to subtly make it more entertaining for me as the viewer, I would accept that. I'll take that leeway. So you excited, Jake?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it now.
You've been watching this?
A little bit, not a ton, a little bit.
I've been watching kind of a lot.
I watched the Argentina Cape Verde game.
Oh,
that was an all-timer.
All-timer, and I didn't know until afterwards. Maybe I wasn't even listening. I don't know if I had the audio on that they're saying that would have been the greatest upset in the history of the World Cup.
It's right around it, and I'm not going to pretend like I have this deep history.
Name the other 3, Garvin.
No clue, but I will say, for a team in Argentina that's predicted to go very, very far and has, arguably one of the all-time great soccer players to ever play in Messi, then getting bumped in the one of the first knockout rounds by Cape Verde would just be, without knowing anything about it, I'd go, that has to be a huge upset.
But the star power watching, like, it's hard. So I mock soccer all the time, not a huge fan, and this tournament has given you examples of that. If you look up, there's a 50-50 chance someone died on the field. They're rolling around and they're dead, and then they get up.
It's
and
not
score
even
a
a
goal.
stereotype. It's
real.
Legitimately, how I believe that these players are coached
100%
when they get contacted.
So that is still there, and I think we all as Americans look at the clock and totally don't get. Wait, it's going upwards. Wait. There's literally a trainer standing at midfield with a stretcher, and the clock is still moving. What's going? Oh, and this guy's just going to tack on a few minutes here, what he's discretion. Oh, and then if there's a breakaway, he'll let it play out, even though technically he thinks the clock has run out. So it's crazy.
What confused me in the Argentina Cape Verde game is that the ball went out of bounds, but it was still in, like, Cape Verde was attacking, and it was in Argentina's, I don't know, territory, whatever you want to call it. Like, it was on their side of the pitch.
Turf.
So whatever you want to call it. And then it was a throw-in. They called the game.
Oh yeah,
but I think it went off Argentina, so Cape Verde would have had a throw-in.
Yeah,
and I was like, why? But even if it's crazy, the call was the other way around, well, shouldn't then Argentina have to clear the ball from their own? I didn't get that.
No, there's a lot of those that give us soccer haters some venom. But then if you just watch, and you watch like an Mbappe and some of these, the quickness with which guys get shots off, unbelievable. When they dribble, shake people, all of that, the bend it like Beckham crap that they do with the ball where the guy's 20, 30, 40 yards away.
Every corner hooks like a boomerang.
It's unreal. Or even the goalies that are just flailing and getting like fingers on the ball to save goal. Like the physicality, because that's the funny thing. They flop and that annoys us. There's also a lot of sneaky physicality that isn't flopping, that there's a lot going on in these little scrums or these set pieces, I think, in front of the net where they're all setting and pushing and doing different things. So there is a lot. The guy who is tasked with lying down in front of the free kicks, like they make the wall, then they have the one guy who lies down somewhere so they can't kick it low. Like, seems like a kind of degrading job. I'm not going to lie to you. Like if the coach is like, you're the guy who's just going to lay there. Just lay there and take up space.
Get big.
Yeah, let it hit you, wherever. But the entertainment value, I think, for the non-soccer fan has been pretty high in this tournament. Pretty high.
The pace of these games, like, I am going to struggle and have been, I will admit, like I've been struggling to get through like most traditional American sports because I've realized the amount of time that goes into just a singular NBA or WNBA, because they're playing right now, replay on a foul, it's too much. I've started clocking
they have it
how
down, right?
much downtime, guys, there are between, all right, here's a foul, let's look at it. It's like 3 minutes,
Right.
4 minutes. And meanwhile, if it's not deemed in a soccer game, worthy to stop the game, they just play on. I think the pacing of these games has been so refreshing. And I'll also kind of add on to it because, Andy, you were kind of, talking about maybe some of the chicanery that goes into or could be going into some of these bigger games. I realize now I miss getting upset at referees and officials for making mistakes. I miss that part, that human element of the game. I've just become really fed up with, I got to tap my head to challenge a ball or a strike. I'm going to twirl my finger because I think I got fouled, even though I really didn't get fouled. And it just grinds everything to a halt. Whereas in soccer, it's very much just, unless it's worthy enough to stop the game, it's play on. And we'll just tack the time on at the end. But in the meantime, let's just keep it going. And part of that has to do with, there's a singular referee with guys in his ears. He makes every single determination. And sometimes these guys let the games get completely out of hand, especially some of the group play games earlier. Chaos. I have seen absolute chaos in these games. And I miss that. I miss being mad at umpires for not having a good strike zone. I miss being mad when I saw that Angel Hernandez was going to be behind the dish of any Red Sox game because I knew he was going to suck and he was going to be bad at his job. And we've just completely whitewashed every single aspect of the real human element and human error in sports. And I miss it. And I want it to come. I want less replay. Oh. I don't think we're going to get that, though. I think we've gone too far.
Preaching to the
direction.
choir. I think all slow motion replay should be banned. Banned totally.
It makes everything look so worse.
And it overanalyzes everything. I think the most glaring example for me is in Major League Baseball. The guy's stealing second. He's safe. He's clearly safe. But then as he kind of keeps sliding, whoa, did he leave the bag for 1/1,000,000th of an inch while the fielder maintained the tag on him? And it's
we had one of these with Willier Abreu the other day. He slid to third, and as he hopped up to kind of be LFG, his cleat, you could see a little bit of dirt between it, but they ended up calling him out because they had the ability to go back and, enhance, clarify, clarify.
NBC.
It's those ones, it's those ones, but also the basketball ones where it's the ball was hit out of the hand of the offensive player, but it grazed the tip of the atom of his finger, and it just went out of bounds.
I hate it.
I can't do that. That's where replay has gone too far.
It was intended to fix
our time on that.
The really bad, egregious, season-altering, postseason-altering calls that you had to fix. Now we're fixing the littlest microfiber of a mistake, and it's why I'm not a real big ABS guy. I don't okay, so it wasn't a strike by the letter of your computer law, but it was off by 1/10 of 1 inch. That's a strike. That's the black. That's where Greg Maddux won. That's where the pitcher got that's part of the fabric of baseball historically.
They tell you protect the plate. It's too close to take.
Yes,
swing the bat.
Yes. So I hate all of that. All right. So the latest news is what's it? Boligan?
Boligan. Yeah.
Boligan's going to play Monday night, 8 p.m. against Belgium for Team USA. His red card suspension overturned, and reportedly, according to The Athletic, he will be in uniform for Team USA. We are coming up on the final hour here on 98.5 Sports Hub. Andy Hart, Jake Seymour, and we got a few things to get to. We're going to get to Tatum. Is he ready to shoulder the load in and of himself? I do want to sprinkle in a couple other little things. Red Sox, big win. Also some controversy around all-star selections for your Boston Red Sox. Who made the team, who didn't, who should be on the team, who shouldn't be. And then we should probably touch on big event happened at MSG on Friday night, and head coach of the Patriots was there. Also may have stepped in it a little bit again in terms of the relationship with his wife, Jen. Not nearly as big a step as some of the other issues, but Mike Vrabel getting a lot of criticism on social media for the way he handled himself as a husband on the way to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding. All that and more in the final hour here on 98.5 Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
story a little bit here, Jake. Quote, by operation of Article 27 FDC, the implementation of the automatic match suspension for USA player Fuller and Bulligan is suspended for a probationary period of 1 year. So he's on probation. He did a naughty thing, and if you don't do more naughty things, you won't be missing a game. Now, I don't really understand how that works because, like, obviously the World Cup's going to end in this month, right? A couple weeks. So the 1 year probation, who cares? Like they basically said we had to find a way to get him on the field for an important game that we want people to watch. So he is, and if he's naughty, we'll take care of it in other international games that no one or the casual fan won't be caring about as much.
So I also saw in the Athletics article when they broke the story, Cristiano Ronaldo avoided a suspension for the start of the World Cup in similar circumstances after FIFA handed Portugal captain a 3-match ban. That would have been like all of group play.
Yeah,
that would have been a lot. You can't do that.
I just gained. I know FIFA is arguably the shadiest organization on the planet, allegedly and arguably.
The IOC would give them a run.
Yeah, sure. But I like this kind of stuff. Yeah, we're going to bend the rules a little bit to make sure our good players are playing in our biggest tournament, like to make sure that we see stars where, you know, the NBA in their load management type world that, you know, where we rest stars and do certain things. People want to see stars. People pay. Whatever the prices were for these ridiculous thousands of dollars and everything going into these tickets, you don't want to go up to these games and not have stars playing.
By the way, I just saw this too on Twitter. Apparently, Dave Portnoy had this 2 hours ago. He
Really?
said, bookmark this tweet. Davies pitch football sources are saying a certain red card may be overturned soon.
Nailed it.
And then he responded and said, but don't quote me if I'm wrong, though.
And buy the book.
Where Portnoy was right. Yes, exactly. Buy the book.
And while you're out there celebrating my greatness as a reporter, buy the book, please. Thank you very much.
It'd be one thing if there was like a review process and they looked at it and, you know, it's kind of what we were talking about in the previous segment where it's like, well, these guys play with their feet, so I think these things are going to happen. And if you slow it down to the speed they were playing it at, anything will look bad. I would have more respect for that than, okay, we like in your example, Andy, in their mind, like they still think that's a bad foul.
Well,
instead of like, well, we got to bring him back here because, you know, America's one of the host countries after all. We want to see him go far. Instead of like, oh, this was actually ridiculous. Like, all right, he already missed the game, the last half of the game. This does not rise to the level of an automatic suspension for the next game.
And that's what makes this weird. And again, we are novice soccer fans. We all, I think, will freely admit that. So if you're a real hardcore fan, maybe you can explain it to us. But the weird part is the red card was given out via replay review. This isn't one of those where some hot shot ref did something in the heat of the game and you're like, oh, I really wish he hadn't done that. No. It was under review with a guy, as I noted earlier, had a headset. You could have tried to stop him then by calling down to him, whatever. And now, so you reviewed it, gave him a red card. Now you reviewed the review and took away the suspension that the ref on hand knew he was handing out. It's not like that guy didn't know the rule. He knew if I give this guy a red card, they're going to win and he can't play in the next game. So it's I think they got to the right answer. They just took a really circuitous way to get there.
Well, the other thing, too, is that the review happened and everyone immediately afterwards like, no, this isn't a red card. I believe they said it on the broadcast.
Oh, yeah,
and then
absolutely.
They came down and said, no, it is a red card. So, like, there was a disconnect between, like, what quantifies for a red card and
the
what
experts,
doesn't.
Yeah.
And even after, like, I'll go off and just from ESPN, like, they had an analyst on, and the ESPN analyst said, yeah, it's not a red card. I was just like, well, if everyone's saying it's not a red card, why is this a red card?
Right.
Why? And I understand it happens in sports. Like, oh, we all knew this was a first down, but they weren't giving it. It's 4th and inches or whatever the case may be. But it seemed like everybody and their mother knew that he was fine. It was a mistake play. Was it physical? Absolutely. But stuff happens, and you move on with it.
Yeah, whatever. The American can play, so we're all happy. That's who we're rooting for in this very provincial bottom line business. I did want to get to this Jason Tatum, though. Jason Tatum, your guy, Jake, Jason Tatum. You're going to be talking to him a lot this year, right?
Yeah. He's going to be the
every game.
Team. Every game, you should be there.
Before every game, after every game, he's the spokesman. He's the face. He's going to roll out of bed and score 30, right? All NBA, MVP final, top 5 MVP this year, right? I'm sure. Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Is he playing back-to-backs?
Is he playing back-to-backs?
Depends. I mean, at the start, I'm not sure. It depends with, I guess, the Achilles and if they still are managing that.
Okay. So that's not great. So they got a whole slew of guys that won't be playing back-to-backs. That ought to be fun to manage. Paul George and Mitch and all those guys. But is Jason Tatum ready for this? Does he know? I think he thinks he knows what's coming this year. Like, I'm the guy, he wanted to be the face. If I win a title, I'm in the conversation for face of the NBA. Well, okay. I don't know if you are or aren't in that conversation right now, but you are the unquestionable face, voice, legs, shot, everything of the Boston Celtics. Is he ready for that?
I think he is. I think the reason why I say that is because he's been part of this like upper echelon or big time players. Like, he's a Duke boy, went to Duke, then went and did to the NBA. Like when he came into the NBA, he was still a kid. He was a 19-year-old kid, right? And then grew into this, great basketball player. And we kind of got to see a front row seat of him like growing up into this like very mature, father figure. He's with his sons, right? All that's been in the public image, and he hasn't done anything that's, I guess, worked against that. In that narrative about like, oh, what has he done off the floor? Like, we talk about a lot about NBA superstars being in trouble with, off the court things like John Morant, right? Like all the stuff that he's gone through.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, right? There's a lot of players. The list goes on and on and on. Tatum's never been involved in any of that, and there's no reason to believe that's going to happen. So just because of that, I think he's already been in this role. Now, did it help that he had someone like Jaylen Brown who maybe felt more comfortable speaking openly about certain topics and being more open about things? Yeah, absolutely. But I just think that Tatum is going to he's going to go into the role and be fine with it, at least handling the media. And you might not get the answer that you want. It might not be the open honesty that Jaylen Brown provided, but it might be like, like polished answers, right? Like the media trained stuff. But that kind of comes with where he came from with his Duke roots and being this, basketball superstar since he was 19 years old.
I think there's pitfalls coming. I think there are absolutely pitfalls coming in terms of answering questions, maybe. That might be a 4-game losing streak, that coincides with him. Hey, how come you're shooting 23% from three-point over the last 4 games, whatever it may be? Why were there back-to-back games where you started a combined 0 for 14 in the first quarter? Some of those things. I don't know that he's ready for it. I don't know that. I think he thinks he's ready. He wants it. I am the man. I'm Jordan Brand. I'm an Olympian. I'm all these things. I just, as the hater in the room, I guess, have my doubts about this whole idea that he doesn't really know what he lost in Jaylen. And I don't think it's as much basketball like, oh, who's going to take the shot or who's going to take the pressure off of me. I think it's more the pressure of day to day, minute to minute, game to game. You are the leader of the Boston Celtics.
I think it's fair for you to say, and I guess the point that I'll bring up to kind of support your thing is that
I like it.
Tatum's notorious for post-game interviews, the press conferences. They're always kind of late into the game. After the game's been over, he probably goes in, showers, I don't know, hangs out, like whatever he does in the locker room. It takes him a little bit of time to get to the post-game.
Very diva-esque.
And I remember the first posting I covered was 2025. I'd covered a few games for the station, and I remember waiting there for like an hour and a half. Sometimes like it felt like it was forever. And one of those games, it was the game 2 against the Knicks. They had just blown that second game. They went down 2-0, going to Madison Square Garden, and it was like, okay, hold, like this is really bad for the Celtics. And the fire alarm, there was a fire in the building, and they had to evacuate the entire TD Garden. Well, because Jaylen Brown had went first and sooner in like the aftermath of the game, we were able to interview him. But Tatum, and it wasn't like strategic, like he didn't know there was gonna be a fire, but because that
I thought you were accusing him of pulling.
No, absolutely not. I'm not accusing him of anything, but because that he naturally takes longer to do it, we weren't able to interview him and get his thoughts about the Celtics going down 2-0 in the immediate aftermath of the game. And to your point, like going off that, like if you can't talk to the face of like if it was just his team and Jaylen Brown wasn't a part of that, then like that game, there would have been no comments from the face of the team on them going down to like that would have been a problem.
Yeah,
and it was kind of a problem then too. Like, what do you mean we can't talk to you? Like, obviously the alarm was going off, but in the immediate moment, you're like, wait, we're not going to interview Tatum? Like, what? It's right after the game. You got to talk to the star player.
And there's no out. You can say that Derek White is a leader or what. Like, there's no out. Unless he's going to pull the fire alarm after every freaking game or every time he has a bad game or every time they have a bad loss and things are going sideways.
That only sticks out in my head, too, by the way, because I remember I used that as my lead for that game story, and I talked about how like it was like, is it time to slam the panic button on the team? But I remember reading other reporters' articles. I was to go through and see what other people wrote, and try and better myself, right?
Sure.
Like, I always do that. But Jay King, I thought, had a really clever way to do it too, is that he used that as a way to be like, Tatum didn't talk because of fire alarm, so we'll never know what his reaction was in terms of, I thought it was like a clever way to frame that.
You could kind of say that his human fire alarm has been Jaylen Brown for the last decade.
Yeah.
In various forms and fashions as what he's been. And I also do wonder, I said it sort of facetiously earlier, that feature that came out, and I think it was Ramona Shelburne on ESPN or whatever, about the way he approached this season and talked to Missoula about how I should lead and talked to the numerology stuff and like really trying to find a way to reach every player on the team. And then the pride with which he enjoyed the success and talked about, I know he got himself in trouble when he posted that graphic of comparison year over year and all of those things. But I truly do believe he was proud of Shireman and Ugo and the way these guys played. And I think, now you can say it's egotistical that he's kind of taking some credit for their development and the way they played, but I think he does take credit because he feels like he put a lot of work into it, to helping those guys. Is Jason Tatum going to do that? Is Jason Tatum that kind of guy? Or is he just going to lead? Does Jason Tatum think I lead by I show up, I shoot, I score 35, I give you 10 assists, I give you 13 rebounds, whatever? Is he going to go that extra mile for this team that now is interesting in its makeup, right?
Yeah, I just think it's going to be more of the leading by example, quiet, because I don't like Tatum does not strike me as the guy based on what we've watched for the last, really 8 years. But 8 years playing basketball, obviously he missed last year, but he's not the guy that you look at as like, oh, he's on the court, he's yelling, screaming every play. Like you feel like high intensity, like Jaylen Brown held himself and Marcus Smart held himself, right? Tatum's more of just being quiet and doing his own thing.
Yep.
And I say doing his own thing, I don't mean playing just his thing and keeping everyone else.
Oh no, he's on script. That's why they didn't have to trade him.
No, but it's more so of him just being.
He writes the script.
Quiet guy. Yeah, it's she said
his script. How would he go off his script?
But he wants to. I think he just lead by example, be kind of quiet, do his thing, help out everyone, help out the team, and do it. Where Jaylen Brown is going to be very vocal about that. Really, it boils down to that. Jaylen Brown leads by being vocal, and Tatum has a leadership style that does not. He's not vocal, and he's not going to go to the media and say, this is what I thought. Like, I'll even go back to what Jaylen Brown said. It was in a November game, and he was talking about like playing tough, and he was like, playing tough? And he went this whole spiel about how he thought the team didn't play up to their standards. Tatum's not going to do that because it's not the kind of person he is. There's nothing wrong with that. Just kind of how he is.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. The question is, from a team makeup and leadership standpoint, is it what you need? Is it all of what you need, or did you have yin and yang or whatever previously complementary pieces, and are you now missing it? And when I go down the roster and say who's going to fill the void, let's just say you believe, like me, there is a void of leadership on the Boston Celtics with the trade of Jaylen Brown. And if you start with that premise, okay, so who's going to fill that void? I don't think it's Derek White, personally, because I think Derek White is more in the Jason Tatum style, right? Like, I'm going to do my job, and I can do my job, but I'm not necessarily going to be barking or bringing that type. Is it Peyton Pritchard? He's an energy guy, basketball energy guy, right? Like, he can inject energy, but is he a leader of this basketball team? Can you be that guy if you're Paul George? You just got here, you might not be here long. Is Paul George that guy? Who else?
NBA champion Mitchell Robinson.
Mitchell Robinson, is that him? You bring him in, but new guy. I always think it's hard to be the new guy, especially if the new guy is like a role player more than a star player. Like,
tell that to Nikita Zadorov, who basically came and was like, all right, I'm taking over. I'm talking to everybody.
He's kind of a big bully, so yeah.
But I'm saying there are instances where a person will show up. Jimmy Butler's been the new person in every single scenario that he has been in, and has instantly been like, we're doing things my way.
And the reputation is junkyard dog. Like, he's the dog, right? Maybe early in his career, that was a detriment to his trajectory and his teams, and then he figured out how to use it.
But especially if you are a new guy and you're walking into a situation, you don't know what it's like. People will tell you, I'm sure they're going to be like, hey, this is how it used to be. And, I think that to the point that Jake is bringing up, like, Tatum might be more lead by example guy. So if you got a player that's, someone's late for film or they're not, working hard in practice, like, is he going to grab him and go, hey, listen, like, this is important. We need you to do X, Y, and Z. Do you leave that to Joe Mazzulla? I think
how do we like him doing that?
my broader question is if Jalen was more of like a hands-on guy with the younger players and kind of bringing them along, and that goes away, who fills that void? If it's not going to be Jason Tatum, who fills that void? Does that allow more leeway for the coach? Does that allow more leeway for a new player?
I think the coach is the answer. If you were to show me all the candidates, so if you say there's a void and you need to fill the void, who are the candidates? Joe Mazzulla would be my answer. Now, I don't know if Joe Mazzulla is that guy. I think Joe Mazzulla, he's going to face some challenges this year. We're talking about the pressure on Tatum. There's pressure on Joe Mazzulla this year as well, because you're getting probably your way schematically, right? Like, we're going to shoot a lot of threes. The ball's going to go through Tatum. There's going to be whatever was off script with Jaylen Brown is now out of sight, out of mind. I guess my thing is, I grew up in a world where Willie McGinnis was a leader of the Patriots, and I always thought you kind of have to be willing to be an a-hole to be that kind of leader. Willie McGinnis was willing to call people out.
Sometimes the truth is mean.
Correct. No, the truth is never mean. But you got to be able to say it. You got to be able to say it.
We're saying the same thing.
I know. Do they have that a-hole leader? Do they have that guy that isn't afraid to upset the apple cart? Do they have that guy who is, for example, Ime Udoka. So if we're going to say the coach is the guy, Ime Udoka, game 1, game 2, said we got punked on our own court. And it's like, whoa, he's willing to be the a-hole. He's willing to call guys out. I don't know if Joe Mazzulla is necessarily that guy to fill that void, if indeed, again, there is a void in our little premise here.
I don't know. I mean, Joe Mazzulla, he is the players. I think this is also value to what he can bring as well. That he does seem like a players coach.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen him. He was in Spain with Hugo Gonzalez. He was in, I believe it was Portugal with Keita as well.
Yep.
We've seen him do all these different things with his players. So I do feel like that there could be moments where he can step in and say, call the team. I think he has to some extent as well.
Can be hard, though.
Yeah, it can be definitely hard. And it's going to
Alex Cora would be my example. Alex Cora was a player's manager. Alex Cora, remember famously in one of those documentaries like The Walk with Bayo and The Talk with Bayo, and that's his strength. And then this year, Narvaez gets benched, and we're like, oh, that's weird. And like that felt like a out of character Alex Cora maybe doing something because what happened shortly thereafter? Oh, Alex Cora was out of a job because it didn't work. Because a lot of times when you deviate from who you are, it's fake or it's forced, and it's just sort of desperate. And I just wonder, could we go down that road with Joe?
To the point of Alex Cora, though, Cora, I remember specifically saying, like, he was never trying to be like the clubhouse leader. He wanted to leave that up to his players.
Right.
So when you look at Joe Mazzulla, who, look, he has won a championship. He is fairly, I would say, highly regarded by, top players in the league.
Coach of the year, baby.
Guys like him. The flip of that, though, is if nobody grabs that, fills that space that needs to be filled, for a day after day operation like you would get in an NBA season, and it is Joe Mazzulla. And Joe starts getting on guys, and Joe starts chirping, and Joe is saying this, that, and the other thing. And I'm anybody on the team. I don't want to hear that from you today, coach.
Right.
Like, I think you run the risk of, you talked about the pressure that's on Joe Mazzulla. There was going to be pressure on Joe Mazzulla if Jaylen Brown was still a member of the Boston Celtics. Now he's gone. Your team, in my opinion, is not as good as the team last year. And then in our kind of exercise here, Joe Mazzulla has to be the one to get after guys because the guy that used to do it is playing in Philadelphia. You now run the risk of having Joe Mazzulla, who ownership loves and Brad Stevens says he loves or likes at least. Now all of a sudden, he has become exhausting. He has lost the locker room because he has to constantly be the guy who is getting on everybody for not working hard. Now you have just burned out your coach in the process too because you decided to punt your leader because his Twitch streams were a headache, even though it was a money issue. But I think in this instance, Joe Mazzulla's job has become tougher now because I think any coach would want a locker room, a clubhouse to kind of police itself.
Absolutely.
Now you've got the principal has to come in there and start dictating things. And it might work for a little while, but if you're losing games and guys are getting fed up and the season doesn't start how they think it will start, they'll tune him out so fast his head will spin.
Jake, I'm guessing you follow these things more closely, and sometimes things pop into my head that are real, and sometimes they're not real. Sometimes they're figments of a big-headed imagination. Did I see something somewhere, and online, could be social media, alluding to Marcus Smart could be an option for the Boston Celtics? You see that anywhere?
I did see there was some inkling of that, but
was it like a Bleacher Report piece, or was there any veracity to it? Was there any?
I don't think there was anything. He just went to Houston 4 days ago.
Okay,
it was a 2-year deal.
Okay,
so he
because that would have been a guy that I would have said, like, I don't know if it's good or bad, but that is a guy that fulfills the criteria you're looking for. Not afraid to be the a-hole in the room.
He wouldn't have worked here because of all the reasons why they got rid of him. Right? Is that sure he can be the a-hole, he can be that vocal leader. I think what you want, Andy, is you think the Celtics are going to be missing the vocal aspect of leadership, and that you need
vocal
that,
slash
you need that to be good.
Aura.
Okay.
Like sometimes I think it's just an aura. There's a guy that you're like, that guy's kind of the badass, or that guy kind of like Willie McGinnis. Again, he
like,
walks into a room.
I don't want to let that guy down.
Right.
Kinda.
Now, Kevin Garnett was that guy. It's great when your alpha guy is that guy, is the best player type guy. Like, but yeah, I think you need one of those. I'm not sure they have one of those.
So what if Jason Tatum can step into that? Like, what if he becomes more vocal because Brown's not here anymore, and that opens up the pathway?
You ever hear if my aunt had, you know what, she'd be my uncle? Now, you're not going to convince me that Jason Tatum is suddenly going to become the vocal alpha. I see it. I know it. Dog
what
of a
a
leader.
Fascinating metamorphosis that would be, though, if Jason Tatum all of a sudden just takes this next level, and you see him like grabbing guys on the.
Oh, I would love it,
because we saw it with Victor Wembanyama, and you're like, oh, what does Victor want? He is your best player, and when the Spurs were struggling in the finals, he was the guy grabbing Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, like guys who have played way more ball than he has, and he's clapping in their faces, going, "Wake the F up! This is important." If we do start to see that from Jason Tatum, then everything that you were outlining about, like, does he get it? Is he ready for this? Then it's like, wow, not only was he ready for it, maybe if, we're believing that the organization kind of backed Tatum over Brown, then maybe you start to feel a little bit better that, hey, maybe this was the right decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about Derek White getting better. You can talk about Peyton Pritchard getting better, analytic BS, all that stuff. If this is the move to like unlock Jason Tatum to really truly be the alpha on and off the court and filling that void, that would be such an interesting change, because I flat out do not expect it from him. He's very steady. He's very steady.
So let me ask you this: going back to San Antonio Spurs, their dynasty, right? With those teams, 90s to the 2010s. Who was the leader on that team?
Tim Duncan.
Was Duncan a guy who grabbed you by the collar and was vocal? And
No.
But they won a lot of games.
They did.
And they were very good.
They did.
So what if Tatum? Who's
the coach?
Style? It was Popovich. So you saying Popovich
is Missoula Popovich?
I wouldn't say he's Popovich.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't go.
I don't think Missoula would say Missoula's Popovich.
But I think Missoula has pushed buttons and gotten guys to. Like, Missoula does things that you look at and you go, he did what? And you kind of scratch your head a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like there are certain things that he can do that can get players to feel the same way. Like, even look at the thing Gonzalez did. There was a video of him where Missoula's watching the team play, and Gonzalez sneaks up behind him. This is at the Spain practice. He sneaks up behind him, puts him in a chokehold. Right? Like those things where he knows how to understand the players and get them on the same page, where maybe the vocal leader doesn't have to be criticism and being the a-hole, but it can be getting the rally behind one goal and to move forward with that.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, I've heard people bring up the Tim Duncan thing before. You don't have to be the badass alpha dog to be the leader of a great team. And that's true. I think the coach there was a very, very strong-willed, authoritarian, Belichickian head coach, and I don't know that I believe Missoula is that or will be that, but maybe that's similar to Tatum. Maybe this is an opportunity for Missoula to take his game to a new level, to the next level, a maturation process. He has been, even if he doesn't care, he's been validated to some degree, coach of the year. Giannis was talking him up, right, about what he's doing. Maybe it's his opportunity, because I will tell you, yeah, I think there's a better chance that I am the bulldog leader of the Boston Celtics this year than Jason Tatum is the bulldog leader of the Boston Celtics this year.
Just to put a bow tie on this as well, because it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Like, the Celtics got rid of Brown and they're keeping Missoula. I think I would have kept Brown, probably fired Missoula, because of what Missoula won the championship, but it was with an all-time great team we've now figured out, and he had a the Celtics collapsed in the second round to the Knicks and then had an all-time collapse this year.
Yeah.
So this also goes back to the ownership, organization, front office. They're taking a big bet that Joe Mazzulla is the right guy, and it's worth keeping him here with Tatum rather than trying to figure out with Tatum and Brown and finding whether it was Mazzulla or another coach who could fix that.
Yeah, I don't think this is a bold statement to say, like, he'll be gone at some point in the relative near future. That's just hell, in the NBA, it's almost like when you win Coach of the Year, you're setting yourself up to be fired with the next, 18 months.
Look, Andy, you say that. You would have thought this would have been it. When your move for Game 7 is Luka Garza, Ron Harper, and Baylor Shireman, like, that you would think that would be the easy thing to do. Is you've got two great players, let's get a coach that can get the most out of them. They didn't do that.
Nope. And
they picked the coach over the player. That's almost unheard of in the NBA.
2 years ago, you were out-coached by Tibbs, and he loses his job, and you keep your job, and that team that beat you goes on to it. Like, the NBA is just a weird place to be a coach. And yes, the way the Celtics have done things in recent years, the next guy on the chopping block is not Jason Tatum. The next guy on the chopping block is Joe Mazzulla. 617-779-0985. Coming down the home stretch here. As I mentioned, there was a big wedding in New York, but there's a Patriots Boston Sports Radio Talk tie-in. Mike Vrabel, Taylor Swift. Didn't know they were friends. Don't really know why he was at the wedding. And does he wish he wasn't at the wedding? Because the video of him heading to the wedding is getting him in trouble on the internet. We'll explain next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub. That's a good crossover because there's some pop culture on the to-do list right now because it did happen. I know it's been talked for weeks. Were they actually going to get married at MSG? Is this a ruse? Did they get married a month earlier and this is just a party? Blah, blah, blah. There were so many theories out there. Well, and I guess maybe they could have already been married. Whatever. Friday, MSG. Celebrities were there. Adam Sandler was the, officiant? Oversaw the wedding, which I still don't really understand how that's part of this story either.
There's a lot of things with the story.
Adam Sandler presides over the wedding of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I'll be honest. Those people that believe this was all like a Hollywood production all along, if you had told me a couple of years ago, not only are they going to get married, but it's going to be Adam Sandler, I'll be like, oh, yeah, this is a ruse. This is a Netflix made-for-television special streaming, blah, blah, blah. But Adam Sandler officiated it. They didn't have groomsmen and bridesmaid. Her brother was the man of honor. Jason Kelce was there as the best man. And Mike Vrabel was there. Yep, that Mike Vrabel. Like Diana Rossini's boyfriend, Mike Vrabel, was there. And that in and of itself, first of all, weird. Jake and I were trying to figure out, like, why is Mike Vrabel on the even expanded guest list for Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift? Best we can tell, doing our journalistic diligence, Ohio guys, hour apart, you said, Jake?
Yeah, hour apart.
The Kelce's and Vrabel. And then we also, if we were doing sort of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon game, Luke Fickell, head coach, Cincinnati. Travis Kelce went to Cincinnati. Luke Fickell, Ohio State, best friends with Mike Vrabel, even though Travis Kelce didn't play for Luke Fickell. Maybe that's the connection somewhere along the line.
Still seems kind of, not far-fetched, but it would be kind of a weird connection.
Yeah. So we got the weird connection part, but Mike Vrabel, celebrity, whatever. Maybe he's there because he's been such a focus point of the paparazzi lately, and they wanted everybody who was a favorite of the paparazzi. I don't know. Anyway, he's going to wish he wasn't a focal point of the paparazzi because just when things felt like they were quieting down with his whole tumultuous offseason, he, on the way to the wedding, gets in the SUV, okay, black SUV, whatever, uber expensive thing that you do, but he gets in first. His wife is trailing him. He doesn't hold the door, wait for wife. He jumps right in. Well, the internet does not care for that. Chivalry is long gone in the Vrabel household, according to the internet. They think that is a horrific look for the head coach. I mean, there were other horrific looks along the way, but this is the most recent horrific look.
This one's not as bad as.
Did you like much ado about nothing here? Mountains out of molehills. What are we doing here, Jake?
The guy at the door, and whatever you want, doorman for the car, whatever you want to call him, sure. The valet guy. Sure. He opens the door for them. Yeah. So what is Vrabel supposed to do? No, hey, move back.
Well, you could at least pause though, and maybe just do that. You go first, honey.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe he could have paused. So, but maybe he knows he's getting video too. So like he's trying to in that moment, let me get out. Let me just get in. I gotta get in the SUV. Just get in. Maybe he doesn't think about that. I don't know. But I didn't think it was. Out of everything that's happened in the Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini saga, this is the thing that people are going to stir about. Like, guys.
So I didn't think much of it. And my wife's probably like, yeah, no kidding. When's the last time you held the door for me kind of thing. That might say more about me than it does the situation at hand. But I do also think this is the spotlight you put yourself in, Mike Vrabel. You made this bed. Now you got to lie in it. Because had just like Men in Black, the Rossini thing, let's just, boom, gone. Never happened. No one's talking about this. No one's noticing that you didn't let your wife get in the SUV first. But because everybody wants to know, because Jake over here, journalism major, fresh out of college, was like, oh, is this his wife? Oh, yeah, it looks like she's wearing her wedding ring. So he's there. Everybody's doing that little, expand, blow it up. Is there a wedding ring? Who's, do they look like they're actually, in love with each other? Are they walking with each other? Blah, blah, blah.
You can't see Vrabel's ring because I think when I looked at different videos of him, there's a press conference video. No, I don't know if he's wearing it, but it looks like from another video that I saw from NFL, like he's at a press conference, the ring's on his left hand, and he's walking, and you see the right side of him, so he can't tell, but you can see his wife's ring. It's very clear. So I don't know. I thought there's a little bit of it's just because he's in the news.
Yeah.
And the Page Six reporters. If Vrabel learned anything about what has just happened about this story, is these reporters, the Page Six reporters, they are ruthless.
Oh yeah.
They will they will not stop until they get what they want. And even then, they might still go and keep going because you've invited this into your world, into your family, like whatever you want to call it. This is what happens when you get into this kind of drama and it gets public.
You don't have to tell me. I wore a Jaylen Brown jersey on Friday, and I'm reading about it in the newspaper. Who knew you weren't allowed to wear a Jaylen Brown jersey on the radio? Jeez. But yeah, I still don't know why he was there. And I also, we haven't done, I was going to say a lot of shows together. Jake, I don't know that I've ever spoken with you before Friday, and this is the first time I've ever spoken at you in a microphone. But I watched that I think I was late to the party watching that Diana Rossini pulled over by the guy who was a Vikings fan cop 10-minute video or whatever it was. She is cringeworthy. That is one of the most cringeworthy videos ever.
It was pretty bad. I can't imagine getting pulled over and your first thought is, so let me get up this ticket. Let me try and like flex my sources.
Right.
On a cop. Like, doesn't that break journalism 101 that you don't tell who your sources are? She's like, here, look at my phone. Read my text messages.
Absolutely. And
do you know who I am?
Absolutely.
Do you know who I am?
Who I can talk to.
Talk about making yourself the story.
And then I didn't think the cop came off great either when he like let her go and he's like, I mean, do you care about texting and driving or not? Because if you think texting and driving is bad,
for texting and driving,
like she was texting and driving and she's like, well, I'm really important. I have to text football information news out. I'm really super important. So it's worthy of risking every other car driver's life out here for me to send that, so-and-so has a pulled groin. And then the guy was like, drive safely next time and keep me informed on the Vikings and what's going on there. If I'm his supervisor, I'm like, yeah, you didn't handle that perfectly.
But I think also if the cop, goes to the car, he figured out who she was and what she was doing. But if she has nothing else on her record, he cut her a break. Like,
oh, I have no problem cutting her a break. It's the language he used and sort of the interaction way that the break was cut.
Yeah,
I guess I would say.
So do you think that if the cop didn't know it was Diana Rossini and didn't know what she did, like if she just got pulled over and didn't flex her sources and just say, hey, like, I need to be on my phone for my job, you don't think he would have cut her a break?
I think he might have, but he would have done it and been much more like angry, authoritative.
Yeah,
like, this is a big, I'm going to let you go. But I want you to understand, this is a big, you could have killed somebody out there. So I would at least hope next time you'll think about this. He didn't have any of that tone. They were joking about the Vikings.
Well, he did. I think he did say at one point, like, just next time, like, pull off the side of the road.
Try to be home next time or something.
Yeah, that made me laugh. Because it's like, oh, yeah, because she can control when the news breaks.
A non-football
9 to 5 job.
doing that pullover probably gives her a moving violation.
Yeah, I would think.
Because you're like, well, what if she doesn't disclose? I think, Andy, you kind of crystallized it very well. She is the type of person we now have discovered that will tell people, I thought I was gonna get this nice seat at this restaurant, and instead you get the seat, by the kitchen. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know who I am?
Right.
I work for NFL Media. Like, I think there is like this sort of entitlement to her, kind of like, I don't know. Her
I've got
whole existence.
no patience for that. Like putting yourself in the story.
No.
Job.
I'm sorry. If Mike Vrabel lets his wife in the car first, is it a story?
It definitely is.
Yes. The answer.
I will tell you this. I went to New York Post website. They have a whole article written about this whole thing, because of course they do. There's 14 photos of Mike Vrabel and his wife walking through New York City. They have them going to the wedding in the car, and they also have them leaving the black SUV with a Nordstrom bag, and they're walking into the hotel. So this is the other thing too. Did we see any other videos of blank and blank are going to Taylor Swift's and Travis Kelce's wedding? I did not see any videos. I only saw
singular pictures. Like, I saw Tate McRae glued to her phone after Taylor Swift.
These reporters were camped outside waiting for Mike Vrabel and his wife to walk by. They wanted the picture. They wanted the scoop. For better or worse, like, you can argue that one way or another. But to then have an article with 14 photos, 2 of them are from before, previously published photos, but there's many photos of them in New York City from this past weekend.
It's funny. You know that Jaylen Brown gets traded and Brad Stevens is getting blasted, and there was some part of both Craig Breslow and Mike Vrabel that are like, "Oh, I finally get to enjoy my summer for a minute." And then of course Mike Vrabel's like, "Come on, Jed, the SUV's here, let's go," and it's all right back up to where we just were.
Yeah, it is. But once you open that box, that Pandora's box of the paparazzi and the digging, and I still go back to, he opened this by saying laughable. Don't say laughable. Change that first way you handled this, and this might have been a totally different situation, but
all he had to say was, I take this matter very seriously, and we will be looking into it. We'll be talking about it. Whatever.
I appreciate the privacy you'll give us as a family to work through whatever issues we need to work through, or something.
With
laughable.
Yeah, laughable was not the way to go about it. But for people who want to get on the chivalry part and he should have let her go in the car first. At least in the the photos with the Nordstrom bags, he's holding all the bags. Literally came back from shopping.
Oh, so look, he's doing a good job.
And she got out of the car first.
He's the man.
Maybe she doesn't want to get in the car first. Like she has to climb over the
maybe
middle.
he's checking to make sure it's safe before she gets in.
I've never seen, when my father was still alive, I can't remember one instance where my dad ever held a door ever for my mom.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I never thought of it and be like, oh, who does he think he is? I just think if you've been in a relationship for so long, I just think there are things like that they would never think about.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, can you hurry up? If you had just left when I said we should leave, but instead you're taking forever, and then you were supposed to be on top of when the ride was here and you couldn't commit. So I just think there are things that, we are trying to look into a relationship that has existed for much longer than anybody has cared about it.
And my guess is if we really wanted to, we could go find lots of examples of couples and the man gets in first and no one cares. But
not at all.
All right, coming down the home stretch here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, I did want to get to one last Red Sox-related note. They're a terrible baseball team, and apparently they have 2 bad all-star snubs. Should they be whining a little bit about not having enough all-stars from their first half of the Major League Baseball season? We'll finish that out next here on here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Didn't say it!
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
more. Let's clean out the phone lines before we get the heck out of here. Touch on those Red Sox. Let's go to Paul in Andover. Has a thought on Vrabel. What's up, Paul?
Oh, I thought because we traded him to Kansas City, I thought there might have been a coaching overlap, but it was Houston where he was the assistant coach. But to change the subject, watching this soccer for the first time in my life, if you're patient, it's a good watch. It really is.
All right, thanks for the call, Paul. I agree. I think soccer is pulling in some non-believers. Some,
yeah, absolutely.
But now, do you stick around? Probably not. This is probably a little bit like all the curling I watched in the Olympics. And then in 4 years, I'll watch curling again when you slap an American flag on one of them. So I don't see. I know that's going to be a talking point. Is the popularity of soccer in the U.S. going to explode after the World Cup? I feel like we have that conversation every 2 to 4 years. Not sure it's going to, but yes, the World Cup has been entertaining, and I think a lot more fans are watching it than expected. Let's go to JP in NP. What's up, JP?
Andy, before I ask my important question, I apologize. Yesterday, I got so excited talking to the Macho Man, I forgot to say hi to the Hitman Hart. But I did. But I do have your slogan: "The best that was available." It'd be a nice T-shirt.
Appreciate it, JP.
So here's my question. It's an important one.
Yeah.
We know Jalen Hurts did not go to A.J. Brown's wedding. Was Patrick Mahomes there yesterday? And if he wasn't, were we recruiting Kelsey as a tight end? It could be a old school conspiracy.
Ooh, I love it, JP. Thanks for the call. So, Jake, you are our paparazzi, I guess, kinda paparazzi watcher. Was Patrick Mahomes at MSG?
According to Twitter, New York Post, they have photos of Brittany Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes on top of like some high rise, and they're in a car as well. They were there. They were in wedding, I guess. Apparel.
Okay, so they were there.
She's in a blue dress. Seems like wedding attire to me.
Okay, so there we have that. I did want to close things out. Red Sox, they stink, right? They did get 2 All-Stars named to the All-Star game next week in Philadelphia. That would be Ranger Suarez and Aroldis Chapman. The 2 big snubs that I guess not just Red Sox fans are talking about, but even some National Baseball people. Wilson Contreras hit his 19th home run last night, I believe, and Sonny Gray improved to 10-1 last night with a 2.61 ERA, and actually admitted he might have been slightly motivated by the snub. What are your thoughts about a team as bad as the Red Sox kind of bitching about the fact that they don't
have any right to complain about that? None at all.
Win more games, you'd have more players.
You're 9 games below 500, and you're going to tell me that you need an all-star slate? Come on.
Hey, they're only like 5 games out of the wild card.
I am surprised that I think it was Vlad Guerrero got the...
Yes.
And he's not having a good year. And that's not even talking about the money that he signed for. Like, objectively, Wilson Contreras is having a better season.
Correct. And as your manager, Tracy, pointed out, things happen, guys don't go, and all of a sudden, it's like the Pro Bowl, you're the 7th quarterback added. So they could get added to the roster at any point. All right, that's going to do it for us. A fun, fast 4 hours talking JB, JT, the Celtics, and all else. Jake, it was fun. Hope we do this again sometime.
Definitely.
And I will try to get the name of the radio station always correct when I am on it. Garvin, great job back there. Even though you don't like fireworks, I like your work behind the glass. Hope everybody has a safe rest of your Sunday and 4th of July weekend. I'll actually be back tomorrow, 2 to 6, including 4 o'clock, I believe we're scheduled to hear from Bill Chisholm. Brad Stevens will probably air some of that live and react to it on the afternoons with Alex Barth. Up next, Garvin, who we got?
Mark Dondero.
Mark Dondero. Stick around for Mark Dondero, the most entertaining man who ever covered the Patriots. Maybe he'll explain that next here on 98.5 Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.